Hello, everyone. I mentioned to a follower this morning that I would go live tonight to answer a few questions if anybody has any questions for me. Um, Tomorrow's a big day. We're going to be going back to court after the tenants that stole the $12,000 from us, so that's a big day tomorrow. At the same time, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me any questions. I see people are starting to come on now. Okay, I've only done one live once before, which went pretty well. I answered a few questions on starting a business and what's involved with starting a business. So, I can do that, talk about tenant landlord law. Of course, I can only speak mostly about Rhode Island, tenant landlord law, but I'll be glad to answer questions. I had a tenant of mine today actually comment that we're a good landlord company. I didn't even know it was one of my tenants. I had asked my property manager, who's this person, commenting on TikTok. So that was kind of a pleasant surprise. But anyway, I'm going to stay live for a while tonight, see if anybody has any questions and can answer any questions. And I can even tell a story or two of past issues or problems that we've had. So, so your husband wants to buy rentals, but you don't want to deal with the headache. Well, I'll tell you, the best way to do that is this. If you can invest into rental property and you can find a local real estate firm agent that will manage the property for you, you get the best of both worlds. You have the investment of the property, but you also have somebody else dealing with the headaches. That's something that we're starting to do now. We're starting to manage properties for other investors because it's true, when you only have like a 3 unit or a 6 unit, 9 unit, and they're calling about broken heat and broken air conditioning and leaky toilets, if you're buying it just for an investment, it can be a challenge to maintain that property. So it might be worth it for you to find a local real estate agent, which most of them do property management, where they'll take a piece, 5 or 6% of the rent is what you pay them to manage it for you. But I got to tell you something, it takes the headache away. When I first started the business, that's what happened. When I only had 3 or 6 units, it was hard for me to maintain them. Now, obviously, we're big enough where we have our own full-time crew. But again, same thing. I would rather pay somebody to deal with the headaches. I actually own some property that's not in my area, and that's what I do. I just pay another firm, a management company, to manage that property for me. I still want to own the property, but I have them manage it for me. So that's what I would suggest there. Let's see what other questions. So that's what I would say. You find and get a good price on the property, and then just hire somebody to manage it for you. So, oh, good question. I never did respond on the gardener issue. So we did end up hiring 2 full-time maintenance people that work for us. We had a utility trailer already, and we had a pickup truck that we use for plowing in the winter. So what we did is we equipped the trailer with the lawnmowers, the blowers, with the backpack blowers, the rakes, all the tools. And he started 2 weeks ago. The first day he worked, it rained for 3 days, so we had him do other stuff because he was hired as maintenance. So he actually worked in one of our houses, cleaning out one of our houses. But so far, so good. The way we did it, and I had a meeting with my property managers because because every time you hire somebody, you add to the payroll, you add more employees, you add more supervision. So that was what my concern was. I was like, do I hire an outside company to deal with it? Because I don't want to deal with, did somebody's lawn get cut or not? So Tim and Andrew, who are my 2 property managers, they decided it would be easier to hire somebody. They can schedule them. We treat it just like a maintenance thing. If a tenant calls up and says my lawn is overgrown. In fact, I noticed. So what happened was the people that we had doing our lawns did my own house. Well, today I noticed my house hasn't been done in a couple of weeks. I haven't even been paying attention. I went outside and the grass was kind of long, so tomorrow he'll be scheduled to do my house. But yeah, we have 2 full-time maintenance people that are going to do all of our lawn maintenance in the summer, yard cleanups in the fall, and they'll drive one of the plow trucks or the 2 plow trucks in the winter to plow the properties. So that's how we resolved it. Hopefully that will work out really well. So far, they're doing a good job. They're doing a great job. So we just give them the direction and let them deal with it. So yeah, I completely forgot to answer that one, and people have been asking about that. So let's see. Do I have a different LLC for every property? Yes. So that's a good question. I have my larger properties. I have a different LLC for every single one. The larger properties. So for instance, I bought a property last year that's 30 units in one location. That has its own LLC. I'm about to put up a TikTok about another property I'm buying, which is 40 units. That will be its own LLC. The nursing home that I'm converting to 50 units, that will be its own LLC. But I do have like 8 buildings in one LLC, another 10 buildings in another LLC. So right now I do have 5 separate LLCs, but as I get the bigger properties, those are going into different LLCs, to answer your question on that. So that's how I do that. Of course, we do it for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, a liability issue in case there's ever a problem. You have the safety of being in that LLC for tax purposes. So that's how that works. Yeah, I know more likes attracts viewers. Like I said, I've only been live once. I don't think I've ever asked for likes and follows like everybody does, except for that one that I did with the football. That one there, I kind of asked for some likes and follows. But I don't usually, ask for likes and follows. I'm not like that. I'm a little humble. I think if people want to follow me, they'll follow me. If they don't, they don't. A couple of funny things that happened this weekend. Oh, thank you for the glasses. I like that. That's cool. I'm still learning all the filters and tricks and stuff. Friday night, I went out to dinner to a local restaurant. I was leaving the restaurant, and there was a line of people waiting to get in. And this husband and wife introduced themselves to me. They said, "Oh, we follow you on TikTok." So I always get a little kick out of that because you don't know who's following you on TikTok. And then this morning, I went to look at a house that's for sale, a 6-unit. And one of the other people that were looking at the property, he also introduced himself, and he follows me on TikTok. So, well, thank you for telling me I'm a good man. That's nice that once in a while somebody recognizes I might be a good person. Obviously, you're not a troll or a hater or a heckler. It's funny, earlier tonight, somebody made a comment on my TikTok that they're a tenant in one of my buildings and they really like us and the service we provide. I didn't recognize the name because I don't know all the tenants now. When I managed it myself, I knew every tenant. Now I don't. So Tim and Andrew know the tenants now. So I texted Andrew, "Who's this person?" He goes, "She lives at one of our new properties." So that was really nice that she obviously is following me on TikTok, as well as made a nice positive comment. So she doesn't know me yet. So I'm actually gonna do a TikTok responding to her because I think that's only the courteous thing to do. The ice cream store. So I have 3 ice cream shops. I was going to talk today on TikTok. I've been doing so much content. I don't want to bombard people because I can bore people. But, I've had a couple of failures. And, I don't talk much about the failures. So I own right now 3 ice cream shops. I am going to own a 4th one because in one of my buildings, there was a business that went out. And it's a perfect spot for an ice cream shop. So we're going to next year have another ice cream shop. But I did open 2 ice cream shops. One was a miserable failure. I thought it was a great location. I had bought this building that had 2 stores downstairs, 4 apartments upstairs. It was a nice neighborhood. I thought it was a great location for an ice cream shop. So we put the ice cream shop in there, built the ice cream shop, spent the money, and I ran it for 2 seasons. Didn't make any money. I didn't really lose any money, but I didn't make any money. So I took the equipment out, ended up leasing the space out. A deli went in there, turned it into a deli. And it was been a deli for 10 years. And even now that I'm converting that to residential because it's in a residential neighborhood and businesses just don't work there. There's no parking, not enough parking for a business. So I have had failures in that. The other time I opened up an ice cream shop was in downtown Providence. I owned 2 nightclubs in Providence. So one of the nightclubs had this extra space in it. So we figured, hey, let's make an ice cream shop. So during the day, we could open up and people can come and buy ice cream. All office people, all the business people, the lawyers, the bankers downtown. Well, that didn't quite work either because, in the winter, nobody wants to go outside. It's snowing, so we're not open in the winter. In the summer, people are on vacation. All the colleges are gone, so we weren't getting any college students. So that one didn't work either. So you know what? It was an experiment. I tried it. Didn't make any money on it. Tried that for a year and a half, so I closed that one. So I have had some failures, and I accept that. At least I tried it. I don't have any regrets, and of course, you always regret the chances you don't take. So that's why I definitely had some failures in the ice cream shops. But I do have 3 now. I love it when people go in the ice cream shops and said, "Hey, they heard about it on TikTok." 2 of the stores are closing in a couple of weeks because they're only seasonal, so I stay open until the end of October. So, and then right at the end of October, depending on the weather, I might close it on the 1st of November, 2nd of November. And then I take all the ice cream from those 2 stores and I move them to the last store, which stays open year round. So I don't have to buy any ice cream for a month or so because it's well stocked up. Last year was the first year We stayed open year round. It was successful. It's nice because in December and January, it paid all the, it paid the taxes, it paid the mortgage, it paid the insurance, so the electric. And of course, the kids that were still working, they made a little bit of money in the winter. And then the stores open back up in the middle of March anyway. So it's only a couple of months that we have to really last, And it is location, location, location. And it's funny because, on one hand, yeah, there's a method to your madness. So obviously my ice cream shop that's down in the village, that one, there's a great location. It's a walking village. There's no parking though, no parking lot. So it's a walking village. So it really does well on the nice days because people don't mind parking down the street and walking down. On a rainy day, it doesn't do well. Snowy day, obviously, it's not going to do well. But in the summer, 85, 90-degree day, that store beats my other stores. So that location doesn't have parking. The other location that stays open year-round is a great location. It's near a high school, just became a middle school. It's in a residential neighborhood. It has 20 parking spaces. So that one there does great. It's a great location. My other store in East Greenwich, the one where I last week showed where I parked the garbage truck to block the parking lot, that store, I built that from scratch in 2016. And that was a questionable location because it's a major intersection, which is great, but there's not a lot of residential in that particular intersection, but because it's a rural area, but all the roads around it have lots of neighborhoods, and that store has grown every single year. I'm really excited about that store. This year it did really well, and that's why I was concerned about people cutting through the parking lot. It's amazing how dangerous that is, that people just cut that, and they've done it for years, because before I owned that building, that was a convenience store. But I also have 8 apartments in there too, so I have people that live there, so it's dangerous. So that location's interesting. It has 30 parking spaces. At the same time, we have that empty storefront next door, which I'd love to see be a restaurant or a pizza place or something like that to generate some more action, more customer base for the ice cream shop. But that ice cream shop is going to do well. I can tell. What else do we have? So let's see. It's I'm from Rhode Island, so obviously not a lot of good things come out of Rhode Island. So hopefully you like some of the stuff. It is on so on the way to the beach. So yeah, Bill on the way to the beach. So Bill, you're from Warwick. I know who Bill is. So Bill's a good guy. I think he lives in Massachusetts now, if I remember correctly. Some of the minor details of opening a business. So the minor details are the ones that will catch you, that will get you. Even today. So every year, because I have ice cream shops, I have to renew my victualling license. So it's usually $100. Depends on the town, but we'll just say $100 is the going rate. So I got the form the other day. I had to fill it out and send it in. So what happened was I sent it in, and I realized I owed some taxes for last year. So the tangible tax, the personal property tax, that's the tax they charge you on the equipment that you own. So my tax bill is like $300 for the year. Well, I haven't paid it yet, so they won't give me my license for 2022 till I pay it. Obviously, I have a couple months. I'm going to go tomorrow and pay it because I should have paid it in July. I don't know how it slipped through the cracks. That's a minor detail, but the problem is if I don't pay it, I don't have my victualling license to open up in 2022. The other major detail, I call it a major detail, is when you find a place for a business, make sure, again, it all depends on the business. Ice cream shop, you have to go to the Department of Health, get the inspections, the permits. You have to go through the local town to get the approvals, make sure it's zoned correctly. So that way you're not making mistakes because they'd be costly mistakes. If you go and start building a place and find out you can't open there, you just wasted a lot of money. So that's something that you have to really do your research to make sure the space is zoned for whatever business you want to do. Whether it's an ice cream shop, whether it's a retail store, a beauty salon, a nail salon. You want to do your due diligence to find out if it can happen in that space. That's the most important thing. Because it's a storefront doesn't mean it can always be a store or it can be a retail, whatever it may be. That was part of the problem I had with my property in West Warwick. When I bought the property, it was a art studio, and I wanted to make it into an ice cream shop, so I had to go through all the zoning changes to make it into an ice cream shop. And then when it was easier for me then to lease it out as a deli because it already had the food license. So you got to make sure that you can do what you want to do in that space. The nursing home that I have, that's in a residential area. What happened there was it's zoned for a nursing home or convalescent home. That means, people can live there if they're in a nursing home or convalescent home. It's not zoned for apartments. So we're going through the legal process right now of getting these special use variants so we can put 50 apartments in there. So again, it's costly, it's time consuming. I started working on that a year and a half ago, and it's just getting, I think, close to the approval stage now. But you want to do all your research, especially if you want to open up a business. The ice cream business, I want to talk about that too. So when I open up in an area that I'm not sure about, that's when I like to open up with used equipment. So I'm not spending a lot of money. I'll buy used equipment to try to open up on a shoestring. If I know the place is going to do well, then the next year I can invest in brand new equipment and really make the big investment. But up front, I'll buy used ice cream equipment. You can go to any used restaurant, supply place, and buy used equipment. I never recommend buying new equipment right up front. I didn't do it with any of my stores, and I still stand by that. Because you just don't know if it's going to, work out. For Butler Waste, my waste company, there's another example. The garbage trucks, to buy a new garbage truck is $250,000, $300,000. So to start out a new business last year, I don't think it behooved me to buy all brand new equipment, nor could I afford that. So I bought used trucks. As we got going and started building, yes, I did buy newer trucks, and we also went through the old trucks, fixed them all up. So right now we're in pretty good shape. But again, to start off, right now we have 14 trucks. I can afford to buy all brand new trucks. So we start with used trucks, saw what worked, what didn't, and went from there. And of course, now I bought out another company, at foreclosure, so I was able to pick up some equipment there. So when I start the business, I try to start very conservatively till I know it's going to work. And then obviously once it's going to work, then I can reinvest in it. So let's see what other question. Any advice for the first-time investor, property buyer? Well, for the first-time investor, property buyer, the way I do it is based on the numbers. If you can afford a 3-unit, 4-unit, 5-unit, because what happens is first of all, in a single-family house, you're not going to make any money renting that. A 2-family, think about it. Yeah, you might, if you live on one side where you can live for free, if you rent out both sides, you have your mortgage, so you might make a little bit of money. I found that the most profit, obviously, is the more units in the building. So 3-unit, 4-unit, 5-unit. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that the bigger the property, the bigger expenses. And in Rhode Island, 4 units above, you have to have a fire alarm. You have certain, you have to have it tested every 3 months. So there's certain expenses that go along with a bigger property, but you have more tenants paying the rent that can help cover those expenses. But again, even that, I look at location. I talked about it in TikTok before. So for a rental property, I like to be near, the bus route, because people that pay rent may take the bus to work or at school. So I like to try to be near a bus route. I like to have plenty of parking for the tenants to park. Now, the reason being is that, you can buy property that doesn't have parking, but I find the turnover is too high. Because people get there, then they'll take the apartment on a temporary basis. But you know what? The aggravating thing might be no parking, might be on a main road, so it might be noisy. So I try to buy properties where I think I'm going to have long-term tenants. People are going to stay for long-term. That's really the goal. The goal is to have the apartments rented long-term, least amount of aggravation, least amount of turnover. When they're moving in and out, they're banging the halls, banging the hallways, the staircases, you have to have them repainted. So the goal really is to have long-term tenants. So that's what I say if you're looking for your first property, Have any of my businesses been robbed? So yeah, we've never been robbed, live robbed, where somebody's walked in and robbed the business. The robberies we've had have been, for instance, we had somebody break in one night and go in the register and stole $35. I have surveillance cameras in all the stores. So in that particular case, the next day I sent the videos to the 3 TV stations. They actually put it on TV. The next day they arrested the girl that did it. It was a neighbor that lived next door. So that was one time that the store got robbed. Another time that the store got robbed, we had one of our employees was working there, and the boyfriend was hanging out there, and the boyfriend actually robbed the store. And again, the surveillance cameras saw that. Another time that I'm thinking about it is we were doing some work in one of our stores. I had a construction crew doing some work. We had a new guy working for us. And the girl came to open up the store at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She called us up and the bank was missing. So all we had to do is from the office go on. We watched the videotape. Sure enough, we saw one of our employees go right in there and steal the money that morning. So we've never had anybody walk in, armed robbery type of thing. The only other thing we get is scams. People try to scam us. I have young kids working there, 14, 15, 16. A couple of years ago, we had a lady come in. She told the employee, "Oh, we had 4 banana splits last night, and they were all bad. The milk was bad, the ice cream was sour, so I want my money back." Well, the girl made a mistake. She gave her money back, which obviously we go on the register. We didn't sell 4 banana splits the night before. So that teaches us. It helps us teach the staff. I mean, we learn by our mistakes. We learn by what we did wrong. We teach the staff. She didn't do anything wrong. She was trying to accommodate a customer. She just didn't know the company policy is we don't give the money back. If anything, we'll give a credit, or they give my name and number or the manager's name and number to then give them a refund or a credit the next day, depending on how they paid for it. So those are the only ways that we've been, I guess, scammed or robbed that way. Let's see, what else is there? So the tenant that stole the $12,000, I will tell you the story on that. So it's him and his wife. The application for the rent relief was in her name. Now, the way it worked in Rhode Island is we actually went to court to evict them. So we were in the courthouse. Rent relief had a table set up in the courthouse where they were taking the applications. So Andrew, my manager, and my attorney, Steve, they were there. They filled out the application with the tenant's lawyer. They filled out the application, submitted the application. That's how it got submitted at the courthouse. It was $12,000. What it was it's 9 months of rent up until September, and then it was October, November, and December this year, so they get 3 months in advance. A little bonus from rent relief, giving out free money. So it was $12,000 even. Besides that, they got $2,100 in electric money, and they got $150 in internet money given to them. Now, I provide internet, Wi-Fi in my properties as a courtesy to my tenants. I provide it in all the properties, a courtesy. So they got a free $150 there as well as their $2,100 in electric. I don't know what their electric bill is, so maybe that covered the electric bill. But they did get the $12,000. It was mailed to them by accident. They got the money. The wife, who we've never dealt with, again, like I said, I've never met her, I've never talked to her. The first time I actually ever really saw her was in the surveillance video that I looked at the camera yesterday and took a screenshot. But anyway, everything's in her name. The application's in her name. When I bought the building, there was no lease. They had already been evicted, but because of the moratorium, they were still living in the building. So what happened was they applied for the money and went to them. She deposited into her account. So we went to court. The regular judge, Judge Van Coogan, was out that week. Judge Leach was in their Superior Court judge. He issued a court order for them to turn the $12,000 over to me, which they clearly have not yet. So then we went back to court the next week. My attorney asked Judge Van Coogan, who was back in, "Could you please enforce it?" Judge asked the tenant. He said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to give it back to rent relief." So this was almost 2 weeks ago now. Rent relief has not received it back. Rent relief has called him, contacted him and the wife, and they're refusing to take their phone calls. So obviously they're somewhat hiding, even though they're still in the building. Now, I did get judgment for possession of the apartment. So the constable can go there any day and kick them out, or ask them to leave. They are still there as of tonight. They're still there because I just logged into the camera and I see their car there. So they're still there. So they're refusing. So we're going to go back to court tomorrow. My lawyer's going to go back to court tomorrow and ask the judge to enforce the order of turning over the $12,000. When we went to court 2 weeks ago, the judge did handcuff him, did put him downstairs in a holding cell because he was in contempt of court because he didn't turn in the money. He got out of that by telling the judge he was going to send the check back. He hasn't sent it back yet. So now he has some explaining to do to the judge. So that's how that works on that particular one. What else was there? Any other questions? Let's see. Let's see some people following me. So, but yeah, now's a good time to ask some questions, I guess, because there isn't any out there, unless I missed some. I don't know if I followed. Did I miss any questions? Did I scroll down? Oh, so I did set up the YouTube channel a couple weeks ago, and I started putting stuff on the YouTube. And it's under, Jeff Never Had Job Security as well. So I did set that up, okay? If they move to another, so obviously if the tenants leave and go to another country, rent relief is going to have to chase them for the money because they stole the money from rent relief. Anywhere else, they're going to be chased here, obviously, when a bench warrant is issued, it doesn't matter where they are. If somebody ever runs their license or whatever, they're going to catch them. They'll be caught. That's how that works. So yeah, I know. I know about. I thought the same thing when I saw what she looked like. Obviously, you're not trying to judge people, but yeah, that's a problem. So that's the other issue. People keep asking me, how did you rent to them? How did you rent to them? And I can't say it enough. We never rented to those two. I never would have rented to those two. When I buy property, I just bought a 6-unit building last week. When I buy property, whoever it comes with in the building is whoever it's in the building. If they have a lease, I have to honor the lease. Most of the time they don't. Usually it's a month to month. But if they have a lease, I honor the lease till the lease is over, and then I can ask them to leave, or I can renew the lease, which, it's good because I get to know people, whether they're good or not. In this particular case, these people had already been evicted when I bought the building, but then they had issued, the CDC issued the moratorium, which you could not kick out the tenants for non-payment rent. So that's how I ended up getting them in the building, and here it is now, a year later. I bought the building in September last year, and here they are still in there because of the moratorium. That's what happened there. Getting back to the judge. So I was very disappointed with the judge not enforcing the order, but the judges look at these people as, poor things, they're down and out. The judge didn't know that she was collecting $3,200 a month in unemployment. The judge didn't know that they got the $2,200 in electric money and the $150 and so for all the judge knows is the poor things don't have any money, they're broke. So that's why the judge was trying to give them, and I understand it, trying to give them the leeway. I've been dealing with them for a year, so obviously I've had up to here. There's been 50 incidences of them not doing the right thing. With the moratorium, the first line of the moratorium says, make good faith payments to your landlord. So I had 25 tenants who were affected by COVID. Waitresses, I've talked about this. They were all affected by COVID. And all we asked them to do is make a small stipend payment because they were collecting unemployment. So say they were collecting half what they made, pay half your rent. We were okay with that. Everyone did it except for, there were 3 that didn't do it. There was the squatters, obviously, they weren't going to do anything because they're long gone now, thank you. The other ones that we put the dumpster in front of their car and blocked the car, those are the squatters. They're long gone, so they didn't do it. This one who stole the $12,000 obviously had income, had the opportunity to give us good faith payments, refused to pay a dime, deadbeats. So they didn't do the right thing. But then there were some other people that fell behind. They didn't pay. They thought they didn't have to pay. They did get the rent relief money. The check was mailed to them by accident, by the way, and that day they brought the check to our office, handed it to us. They are in good standing with us. We have a good relationship now. They understand where we're coming from. We understand where they're coming from. So right now I got this one tenant is the only one that's left. That is the problem tenant. So I know a lot of people say, I have a lot of patience. If I didn't have my 2 property managers, Andrew and Tim, and my office staff, Jasmine and Heather, I wouldn't have the patience because I would have been all over them, a few years ago. Because I have the buffer now, I can step aside. I can watch what's going on. I can advise from afar. And but Andrew's great. He asked the people that stole the $12,000. He actually set up a meeting with them last Thursday at Starbucks. Let's meet. Let's sit down again. Another olive branch to work it out. And they didn't show up to the meeting, which was unfortunate, which is real. They didn't show up. So by them not showing up, yeah, we think they took the money. Yeah, we think they spent some of the money. Obviously, rent relief is on the hook. It means we're going to get it later, but I don't want them to have it. Why should they end up with the money? That's the problem. So, but anyway, yeah, so like I said, I do have the YouTube thing. So, anyway, let's see. So if the money is gone, it is fraud, and I found out on Friday that because it's federal money, their Social Security numbers will get earmarked or tagged, and they will not be able to apply for any other federal money. So I know people saying, well, Social Security, well, again, she was on unemployment. I don't know what he does because his name's not on anything. He's not on the lease application. So I think he works under the table. That's my personal opinion. But again, their Social Security numbers will get tagged. So they're not going to be able to apply for any federal money, whether it's food stamps, whether it's, child support from the state, child care, whatever it may be, or future rent relief money if that should come down the line. So they will get stopped there, which is too bad because it's kind of short-sighted. They were on a roll, doing really well. All they had to do was do the right thing with us. Here's what's really crazy. We got a court order not only for the $12,000, but I got a judgment for back rent for them for almost $10,000 because that's what they owe me. I'm going to give that to a bill collecting attorney who's going to chase them for that money. But meanwhile, rent relief's going to chase them for their $12,000 back. So all they had to do is do the right thing and pay us, stay there. Everyone would have been happy. But instead, they're short-sighted. They think, hey, I'll take the money now. But now they're going to have two people chasing them. And the wife, obviously, she's on unemployment, so she works. She has a regular job, I guess she'll be going back to. And then, yeah, they'll attach her pay and attach her wages. And it's just so unfortunate that people are short-sighted and didn't realize the ramifications of their actions. And, of course, that's people not taking the responsibility, you know. How many properties? So we have a total of 230 rented units right now. Now, the reason I say, and by the way, I just found that out Friday. Andrew's in charge of that. So when I say rented units, we have about 14 that are under construction or remodeling. You know, we go through them. When I buy properties, I get a lot of distressed properties. So I know people make comments, oh, that's a piece of crap property. Yes, it is. I buy distressed properties. I have a full-time crew, licensed electricians, plumbers, carpenters, HVAC. We go through the properties, renovate them, and make them nice. So right now we have about 14, 15 empty units that need to be rented. So we have the 230 plus 14, 245. I did a TikTok. I haven't posted it yet on a 39 unit property that we're buying that again is distressed. There's a story behind that. That's why I'll post that tomorrow. It's a whole story about a 39 unit building that I bought. And of course we have the nursing home we're converting to 50. This year I've gotten very aggressive. Never been this aggressive before, but because I have such a great staff working with me, long-term staff, advisors, we decided, this year let's get aggressive. So that's what we're doing. So that's why I'm doing these two big projects now, and we're going to look to hire another property manager because it seems like you need one property manager plus an office person for every 100 tenants. So right now we're kind of stretched. We're going to hire another property manager. So that's how many I have right now anyway. The thing I would tell you is that if you notice, I'm not rich. The money that the properties make, I put right back into the properties. If I get a property making some money, I reinvest it into the property to fix the property up for future. It's for the future. It's my retirement. So any property or to buy a property. So that's why the money the properties make right back into the property. My salary actually comes from my audiovisual business. Now, of course, the audiovisual business was closed for 2 years or a year and a half. It just came back now. So that's where my income comes from, is that business. The property, I put it right back in. It's an investment. I consider buying stock. I just put it right back into the property. So that's how I handle the property. Let's see. Hello, New York. How are you doing? I'm glad you like my stories. I don't know whereabouts in New York you are. My wife's relatives all live in outside of Albany, Schenectady, and in that area. So I spend a lot of time in that area in New York. But anyway, visiting them, which they're great, a great family. How much free time do I get? So that's a very good question. So today I was free all day. Just got done watching the Patriots lose. Bummed me out. But of course, last weekend we were in Chicago for the weekend. When my kids were young, I started a little late. As everyone knows, I'm 57. I had my son when I was 42. But when my kids were young, and my wife works full time. She's an attorney. So when my kids were young, I made it a point to be available in the morning, in the afternoon. In fact, my kids did go to daycare, but I would pick them up from daycare at 3:30, and I would come home and work in my office at home. When my wife would come home, she'd take the kids, and I would work, do office work, business work. But I've always made it a point to be home on the weekends with my family. It's very important to me. The audiovisual business, when I started that business, I traveled weekly, traveled all over the country. I've been all over the country and parts of Europe with the audiovisual business. So it was time for me to stop doing that and let the other guys do that. So I made it a point. In fact, I'll tell you a story, true story. A lot of our clients are right outside of Washington, D.C., okay? They're in Richmond, Virginia. They're in Maryland. So right outside of Washington. So the audiovisual clients I'm talking about. So I'd have a lot of meetings with them. So I used to schedule my meetings during the day, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, or 11 o'clock, middle of the day. I would literally fly out of the airport here. It's an hour right to Baltimore or to Reagan Airport in Washington. Rent a car, go to the meeting, get back to the airport, fly home in time for 5 o'clock to pick up the kids and meet the kids and be with my family. And I did that a lot of times. So I would be with my family. We had a big conference in Long Beach, California once. Had to go. It was a huge conference, one of our biggest ones ever. And my son was making his first communion the next morning. So I took the red eye home to Boston and jumped in the car. And I was home just in time to go to church for the first communion. So there's been a couple of, touchy things like that. But it's very important for me to spend time with my family. In 2008, when the banking crisis happened, and I was in foreclosure, I was in bankruptcy. My house that I'm sitting in right now was on the auction block. I sold my car to pay the mortgage. That was a different time because I didn't have the cash flow that I really wanted to have, obviously. So I had to get creative with activities with my kids, and that's when we found a lot of local things to do. We found old Army forts to go hike around. We'd go kite flying. We would do a lot of the things that didn't cost a lot of money, but it's still, we spent family time together. So it forced me to get creative, and it was fun. It was fun. So that's why, money doesn't mean you can't spend time with family and do things with your family. But yeah, so I do spend a lot of time with my family. In fact, the kids, I think they're at that age now, 12 and 15. They don't want me spending time. Cats in the cradle. They don't want me around. I embarrass them with TikTok. So it's actually a good time. We spent some time together yesterday. We went on a hayride. I think I put it on TikTok. Went on a hayride yesterday and pumpkin picking. Well, like today, I wanted to do something with them this afternoon. They didn't want anything to do with me, so I hung out and watched football, which was fine too. So I do spend a lot of family time. I have a lot more free time now than I ever did, and that's a nice thing. Even though I have more businesses now, I actually have more free time. The reason being is Andrew, who's my property manager, my senior property manager, is also my nephew. He's 36. He's smart, intelligent, smarter than me. And he runs the real estate now, the rental property. He runs that business now. His brother, Brian, runs Butler Waste for me, and he's 37. Actually, I think he just turned 38 last week. Again, smart, hard workers. I got so lucky by being able to bring them into the business because they were both in the restaurant business before they came to work for me, both of them. And I recruited them in, and it was the best thing I ever did. They work hard. They set an example for the other employees, and it has been able to free me up. And, of course, it was a struggle for me to step back and not micromanage anymore. But I don't. I let them do their thing. I still might sometimes overstep, and I have to step back again. And I have to let people know that I'm, I understand that I'm, on top of it. But everyone's been doing a great job. I got to say, and it's freed me up. The audiovisual business really came back strong. I'm thrilled about the audiovisual business. The guys have been all over the country now doing shows. And even the gentleman, Mark, who runs that business, he was a salesman for me before COVID. Now he's actually general manager of that business. Same thing, he's 38. I'm so lucky because I got, two 38-year-olds, a 36-year-old running my businesses. I'm 57, so I'm, 20 years older than them. But as I get older, they can run the businesses and keep growing the businesses as aggressive as they are, which is real nice. My father, when he was retired in 1998, when I bought the first ice cream shop, he retired from his job. He actually managed the ice cream shops until this year. He still helps out. He's 89. He just turned 89, but he still helps out run the ice cream shops. But one of my property managers, Tim, used to be a district manager for a food chain, so he now is district manager for my ice cream shops. So he's helping run my ice cream shops. So that's really nice too. So I have him helping out supervising the ice cream shop. So I got lucky there that I have 4 great managers managing everything, and as long as I keep them happy. So let's see what else is here. My father wanted to captain the boat, being a fisherman. Oops, what happened? His stomach can't handle it. So yeah, I guess that makes it tough. That makes it tough if your stomach can't handle, being a fisherman, going into the family business. I could see that makes it difficult. I mean, if it's a successful enough boat, maybe you could hire somebody to run it. I don't know. That's a tough business. If we're going to talk about, look at the deadliest catch and just look at the fishing business. I look at the lobster business. There are so many businesses out there that are so difficult and so tough that you got to give those people credit because it's hard work. You're out there in the winter, in the cold, the miserable. It's awful. It's awful. So. Actually, one of my employees is texting me right now, so I just tell him, I'm just going to text him back. No, I am on TikTok Live. Call you later. So there we go. So I don't want him to think I'm ignoring him. Which is my favorite business? Well, that's a really good question. So I will tell you, it's not the waste business. My favorite business, I guess, if you want to call it favorite, would be the audiovisual business, only because it's the first one I started it from scratch. It evolved from me being a disc jockey. From when I was 17, 18, I was a DJ. I did weddings, parties. So I was the type of DJ, I never did really nightclub DJ. Even when I owned my own nightclub, the only time I DJ'd there one night, and that was the Christmas party. I never DJ'd in a nightclub, except for, funny story, when I was 20 years old, I was working at a radio station part-time, and this person called the radio station, and they said they wanted to hire a disc jockey for their nightclub. They never had a DJ before, so they wanted to try and experiment with this DJ, because they used to play recorded music. So the radio station manager who took the call said, "Hey, Jeff, are you interested in this? This isn't something that we do, and it's not really our clientele." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, I'll go." So what it was it's a local adult entertainment club, which I had never been in before. I was only 20. It's called the Foxy Lady. So I went there, met the owner, really nice guy. And what happened was, at the entertainment club back then, because we're talking, this was 1988, 89, the dancers had cassette tapes back then, the cassette tapes. So they would walk up to the bartender, give the bartender a tape. He would put it in a deck, hit play, and the dancer would go up on the stage and do their thing. So I watched that day what was going on. So the owner said, "Look, what I want to do is I want to have a host announcing them going on the stage and playing the music for them. So we want to try it. Would you be interested?" So I said, "Sure." So my parents are conservative. They're Catholic conservatives. I have to, so now I'm thinking to myself, all right, how do I explain this job I just got, which paid really good? So I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. So he said, all right, we're going to build a DJ booth for you. So I said, oh, that's good. At least that way I'll be hidden. So if people come in, they won't know it's me. So they did. They built a beautiful DJ booth. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. I was 20 years old. They built this beautiful DJ booth for me. So you know what? I was a little naive then too. Because I had never been in a place like that before. You see it on TV or late night on HBO. But anyway, so I started working there. And, it's funny. I'll never forget the first night I'm there. I'm in the DJ booth. Sure enough, I have a little script. I announce the girl. She goes up and does her thing. So when the girls are done, they're not wearing anything, right? They're all done. They right, stripped. So they would just walk into the DJ booth like nothing. Hey, Jeff, can I have my music back? So that took a little getting used to. Just having them, walk up to me, naked, just, 5 or 6 at the night. So that was something different. I did that for a year and a half. And then what I did is I started just managing it, hiring the DJs to work there. Because I was too busy. I was teaching at the same time, special ed during the day. And I was doing this at night, which again, I wasn't sure how that was going to go. So I used to have to keep this a secret. When I finally told my parents, they were fine with it. They know it's a job. I'm a DJ. I was doing my job. So I did that for about a year and a half. Interesting, but so that's why the audiovisual business to me has been so exciting, because it's evolved so many times. Started the DJ, then did the nightclub thing, then I started doing the corporate audiovisual, which started with the Special Olympics Rhode Island. They were my first customer. I have a loyalty to them. I feel very close to them, because without them, without that organization, I would not be here today. Not the fact that I made a lot of money from them, but it was the contacts. They have a lot of events all year long. I set up sound systems, met a lot of people, met a lot of donors, people that had meetings, so they really opened up a lot of doors for me, and that's why to this day I still work with them. They're the only ones I DJ for. We do virtual dances. In fact, I got one coming up next week. We're going to be doing a virtual Halloween dance for them where all these Special Olympics athletes will go on Zoom and I DJ on Zoom for them. So I do have a loyalty to them. Plus, I've made a lot of friends through Special Olympics. Some of my best friends I've made through Special Olympics in Rhode Island, which has been a wonderful thing. So I owe a lot to them because of the contacts I made, the references that they give me still to this day for other, events that I think are hiring us. They give me good references. So I always work with them. So that's how I actually transitioned from a disc jockey to corporate audiovisual, was from the Special Olympics events. They needed sound systems. They have fundraisers they needed sound systems for. And it's been fun. It's been a great time. I mean, that's where I won my Tom Brady autographed football, was at one of the Special Olympics fundraisers, 10 years ago. So that was kind of cool. So I do owe a lot to them. So the audiovisual business would be, I say, my favorite business that I own. It's also very stressful. I cannot tell you how stressful it is when you have a room full of 2,500, 3,000 people, and you have speakers set up, and you have screens set up, and microphones set up, and all of a sudden the screen shuts off, or the microphone shuts off. Because, that stuff doesn't break when it's in the truck on the way there. It breaks when you're using it. So it's the most stressful business to be in. But it's rewarding financially. It's rewarding just because when you see some of these setups that we do and these large convention halls, convention centers, it's so rewarding. So that's why that one is my favorite business, but it's also the most stressful. And that's what led me into buying real estate, because I thought that I would burn out in the audiovisual business. I thought it was a high burnout business. I was doing a lot of traveling at the time. This was 20 years ago. I didn't want to keep traveling. So I said, I got to do something with this money. And that's when I started buying the real estate, knowing that the audiovisual business would be a high burnout business. And even the last two or 3 years, I haven't traveled as much as I used to. I leave it up to the other guys. I got some guys that love traveling. Rick's been with 12 years. He loves traveling. He just came back from Dallas the other day. He was in Arizona a few weeks before that. He loves traveling. And he also loves being home too. So that's how I got into the audiovisual and to the real estate. So do you touch? Let's see, what is this one he has? So good for you. Thank you. Yeah, always have a backup projector. Oh, you're not kidding. So not only do we always have a backup projector, you need to back up everything. Microphone. When somebody says, I want a lavalier microphone, I'll always have a handheld there just in case the lavalier microphone dies. You can hand them a handheld mic. So you always have to have backup equipment, because that's when it's going to break. It's going to break when it's on stage and being used. It's not going to break in the truck. And that's why I try to instill in the staff, always have backup equipment, because that's when you're going to have a problem. Always have backup equipment. So disqualification for the rent relief, that's an interesting question. We had a couple of tenants get disqualified. They applied for rent relief, but they didn't get it. The only common link was they already had jobs. We thought it was odd that they were applying for rent relief. They had a job and they got disqualified. Now, one of them had a part-time job, so they went back and reapplied, and they were successful. I guess you're allowed to apply twice. And this is all information I'm getting from my office manager, Heather, because she handles this with the rent relief. So I asked her the other day. She was explaining to me that one of them got turned down because he had a full-time job. He had no rate applying for rent relief. The other one had a part-time job, was collecting unemployment, lost the unemployment, so they did have right, and they did get approved for the rent relief. So that's how the only people that I've seen get disqualified are people that already have jobs. Why are you applying for rent relief if you have a job? You shouldn't have fallen behind, I guess, is what their thought is on that. So let's see what else is there. No, people ask me, am I rich? I'm not rich. I don't consider myself rich. I don't know how I can say I'm not rich, because it's very difficult when people see I own all that property. Oh, you must be rich. I guess if I sold all the property, I would have some money, but I won't sell the property. It's an investment. It's like somebody who has stock. All right, so somebody buys a lot of stock, right? You own a lot of Tesla stock. It might be worth, I don't know, $500,000 or $1 million. Okay, are you rich? Well, you're not really rich until you sell the stock, and then you have the cash. So that's how I look at it with me. My wife works. She has a full-time job. She goes to job every day. Has nothing to do with my businesses. My kids are in school, but my son does work at one of my ice cream shops because this year he became old enough to work at one of the ice cream shops. But no, like I said, I'm not rich. I just feel like, I work hard and I enjoy, my money. But again, I still work hard. And if I sold everything, yeah, I think I would probably have some money, but not enough to be, rich. There are a lot of richer people out there. I've said 10 years ago I was in foreclosure. So it's just the last 10 years, the audiovisual business has been very good. The real estate's been good. And the flipping houses, which, I don't talk that much about the flipping houses, but that went very, very well up until COVID. That was very, very strong. And we can talk about that if anybody has any questions on that. Because I don't believe the TV show flipping shows. It's all staged. It's a big joke. They don't talk about the real expenses involved, the hassles you go through. When they're buying them, obviously they're in a town where the building inspectors are giving them all the permits. Go ahead, do whatever you want. That's not really the real life. So if anyone wants to talk about the real life and flipping houses, I have no problem talking about the real life and flipping houses. So getting back to the landscaping solution, we did hire 2 full-time maintenance guys that are doing our landscaping right now, and so far they're doing a great job. We schedule them, staggering the properties, and hopefully that will work out. All right, so a tenant suing for security deposit back. So we collect in Rhode Island, you're only allowed to collect 1 month security deposit for a tenant. So if it's a $1,000 apartment, we collect a $1,000 security deposit. In Rhode Island, after a tenant moves out, when the lease ends, we have 20 days to give them the security deposit back or a letter of explanation why they're not getting it back. Now, I have to tell you, 9 out of 10 times, they just get it back. When somebody won't get it back, it's because A, they didn't give us proper notice. They just moved out and didn't tell us. They're not going to get it back then because we lost a month rent, so they're not going to get it back. If they do a lot of damage when you go in the apartment, literally a lot of damage that we have to repair. Normal wear and tear, we don't care about. Obviously, dirty carpets, dirty floors, there's no wear and tear. But if they put holes in the walls, obviously that's repair. Window blinds, especially if they had a pet, and that's one of the problems with the pets, especially cats. Cats climb in the blinds and they rip the blinds. We have to replace all the blinds. So they might get part of their security deposit back. So if we don't give it back to them within 20 days, they can sue, and in Rhode Island, they can ask for triple damages. So if it's $1,000, they can ask for $3,000. So we make sure that within the 20 days, they get it back. Typically, they move out the next week, we give it back. Why hold it? It's their money. They earned it. They did the right thing. They kept the place good, and they did that. But we had somebody move out the other day. They didn't tell us they were moving out. All of a sudden, the apartment was empty. So we do have money for October, but here it is, the 17th, today, 16th, whatever it is, and we just found out they moved out, so they're not going to get their security deposit back, so we'll send them a letter and tell them why. So let's see. I was married, right? My husband, but the thing is named on the papers. So because I was married, right, my ex-husband obviously that's more of that's my wife's question. So my wife is a divorce attorney, so that'd be her. That would be a great one for her to answer. I'll have to ask her something, since she's shy with TikTok. But I do know that, obviously, depending how long they were married, it doesn't matter whose name was on the papers. If they both lived in the house, they both contributed to the household. They both are, have access to the equity in the property. So that's, kind of a, word. So, all right, it's just a big, okay, is now a time to invest in real estate? So that's a very, very good question. It depends on what type of real estate you're investing in. So the market is very high right now in Rhode Island. It looks like it's high all over the country. I'm always looking at property. It all depends on the real estate. So I've passed up on a lot of properties in the last 6 months because a lot of the landlords, again, were dealing with frustrating tenants. So they took the opportunity to cash out. When they cashed out, because the market's high, they're getting a big return on their investment. So a property that might have been $400,000, a 6-unit building that might have been $450 2 years ago, is now selling for $750. The problem with that is if I was to buy that, how am I going to make money, break even make a little bit of money on it? So I would pass on that property. I just bought a 6-unit a few weeks ago. The only reason being is it's distressed. It's a property that when it's all done and complete and fixed up and really nice, it might be worth $750. Right now it's only worth $450 because it needs work. So I bought that particular one. So it was a good time to invest. But I would say what you have to do is, it's always a good time if you do the numbers. When I say do the numbers, I know that's very general, do the numbers. Jeff, what's that mean? I find out how much the rent is coming in, what expenses are with the property. Do the tenants pay their own utilities? Do you pay the utilities? How much is the taxes? Property taxes, sewer tax, sewer assessment, insurance. Then you figure out your mortgage. If you figure all that out and you have a profit at the end of the day and you can buy it, then it's a good time to buy. It's all about a profit at the end of the day. But right now, because the market, so I don't understand how some people are buying properties right now. I see properties selling. I'm like, I have a feeling I'm going to be buying that property in a couple of years at auction, or just they're going to sell it, because people are buying way too high right now. It's a tough market. So for me, because I buy distressed properties, there hasn't been a few for me to buy. Flip houses, there's really not much in auctions. I used to go to 8 auctions a day, literally drive from one auction to the other today. Andrew and I would split up. He'd go to some. Right now, they're few and far between, and the houses are selling way, way overvalued at the auctions. So we're not even bothering going to the auctions. I'm lucky. I've made a lot of contacts with real estate agents and friends, so they will call me if they hear about a house in the market. So last week, I was able to buy that one. I think I showed everybody. It looked like it was either a 2-family or 1-family. That one there did not go on the market. I bought that off market. I got very lucky. We started working on it. I'm going to fix that up and flip that. I got another one I just bought in Cranston, same thing. It was through a real estate agent. It was a wholesale thing. I got lucky. I'll buy that. We'll fix that and flip that. But I mean, at one point, I had 40 houses to flip, or just flip houses, 40 at one point. So, all right, Jeff, where do you get all the money for the 40 houses? So I use investors. It's not all my money. So again, somebody asked me if I was rich. I use investors. So investors are great people to partner with. It kind of reminds me of Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank. He wants his money to work for him. That's all he cares about. Well, that's how these investors are. All they want to know is that their money is making money. Their money is working for them. So that's what I do. I use their money to make them money, and I use their money to make me money, and I'm not tying up my money. So I use investors to buy the houses. And they don't care how many they invest in, as long as I show them a profit at the end of the day. And that's how that works. It's a great partnership. And of course, if you do right by them, they'll do right by you. I've built a lot of equity with these partners, with these investors. So obviously I can do bigger and better projects if I wanted to, though I kind of stay around my comfort zone. I don't like to take chances as far as that goes. There are some people that buy, $1 million houses and try to flip them. That's not me. I try to stay with a 3-bedroom ranch family house where the market is bigger to sell it. I'm looking for the bigger market. I want to fix it. I want to sell it quick and move on. So that's how that works. I love grapes. I just had some a few minutes ago when I was watching the Patriots. My wife picked up some grapes at the store, Stop and Shop this week. So anyway, yeah, right now the market is high. Let's see, what other question do we have there? So thank you for liking my TikTok channel. I know I put a lot of content on there. I know I talk about a lot of different things. So I know not everyone's interested in everything I talk about. I got to tell you, so I have 174,000, I think, followers right now, which is really cool. I've never asked for one, but I appreciate them all, and that's why I try to answer the questions. So a lot of times, I had to go to the doctor the other day. I'm in the waiting room, right? Got a half hour waiting for the doctor. I sit there and answer questions on TikTok. So I try to answer the questions. I try to fit it in as much as I can. I have a sciatic nerve that bothers me every few years. It's not bothered me in years. Guess what? 2 nights ago it bothered me. I was up all night and I answered questions on TikTok all night. So another little personal thing about me, my damn sciatic nerve. So that's the story with that, So let's see, what else is there? Do you have houses in another area? So all my houses are in Rhode Island. I did start 2 years ago going outside of my comfort zone. So my comfort zone was like within 20-minute drive of my office. That way maintaining the properties. But now that I have full-time crews and they live all over Rhode Island, it's okay. So I did buy 30 units in Pawtucket, which is on the Massachusetts border. I bought a flip house down in Narragansett, Rhode Island, a year and a half ago. I bought it to flip it. It was an auction house. I went there to buy it and flip it. What happened, though, is it's right near, if you look up on Google Maps, Narragansett, Scarborough State Beach. It's right on the beach. It's 1 street over from the beach. So it's a big house, a 6-bedroom house. I bought it to sell it. But what happened was when I bought it, there were some college girls living there. There were 5 college students living there. They were seniors at the University of Rhode Island. So I left them in there. They kept paying rent for 6 months. And then I realized that that's a college rental area, which I've never really done into college rentals. But in the summer, it's summer rental area. It's a 45-minute ride for me. It's south in Rhode Island, about a 45-minute ride. So what we're doing is this, right now it's rented. We rented it to 5 college kids right now, seniors at URI. They're renting it this year. But in May, we're going to rent it out to family rentals, with seasonal summer rentals. And I'm going to use an outside real estate company to manage that. Will I invest outside? Absolutely. My parents have a house down in Naples, Florida. I like the area. If I could find a multi down there where I could, leave one empty apartment for me and rent out all the other ones, it'd be kind of cool because it'd be a place to go visit as a vacation thing. Same thing, my wife would really like to have something in New Hampshire. So will I buy a single family for us or a cabin for us? No, because for me it has to pay for itself. So I would buy a 5-unit or 6-unit, leave one empty. I love skiing, so I'd love to have a place up there so I could go skiing in the winter. I took my kids a couple of years ago to learn how to ski. I love skiing, so that would be kind of cool to have a place up in New Hampshire that way. But so that's how I would buy outside of the area. And what I would do is, again, hire a local real estate firm to manage that property for me. I can't manage it from 2 hours away, 3 hours away. That's not feasible. I'd rather just pay somebody to manage it for me. So I would invest outside of Rhode Island, and I've had the opportunity, and I have been looking the last few months to do that more and more because it seems like there's some potential out there, and that's why I definitely would do that. So have I invested in a business that didn't work? Yeah, so I did. So a couple of things. I invested in, I got lucky. So I owned a nightclub for 17 years with 3 partners. It was one of the most successful nightclubs in Rhode Island, in Providence. It was called Club Hell. It was a college club that was open 7 days a week. We did themes, so every night was a different theme. It was highly successful. I cannot say it was not successful. What happened was, towards the end of its 17 years, why my light just went on. Towards the end of the 17 years that we were open, we started getting tired of it. Okay, we want to move on. Do we want to do something else? Our lease was up at the property. The landlord doubled the lease. So that pretty much told us, you know what, it's time for us to close. So we bowed out gracefully and closed. So one of the other owners, he owns another nightclub in Rhode Island, a big live band venue. And then the other partner, he went off because he wanted to do live bands at another venue. He wanted to be a promoter. He didn't want to own a club. So the 2 partners left. It was me and Joe. Joe was the manager of the club. So we opened up another club in downtown Providence, a couple streets over. We bought out a restaurant. We opened up a new club, and it was doing great. The club was doing very well. We had it for about 2 years, and they sold the building. So the people that owned the building sold the building and bought out our lease, which worked out really well. We got very lucky. They bought out our lease. That club, though, the reason why we say we got lucky is that club broke even. We were busy, doing well, but it was just an expensive club to run, so it broke even. So when they bought out our lease, that was the best thing that could happen. So they bought out our lease, and at that point, Joe came to help run my audiovisual business for me. He was my partner in the club. I met him and my other partner when we were 20 years old, renting them sound systems for their college bar. But anyway, so that's it. So that club, the second club, really wasn't as successful, but it was successful because when they bought out our lease, we made a little bit of money there. I did open 2 ice cream shops that were not successful, so I closed those. Those were not successful. But other than that, everything else has been has worked out really well. Can't say I started a business where I lost a ton of money and went out of business. The 2 ice cream shops, when I closed them, I owned the property, so I was able just to re-rent the property, and I took the equipment and I used it somewhere else. So that's, I got lucky there. Do each group of properties as separate partners? Yeah, I answered this one. So I do. So a lot of my properties are in LLCs. Well, they're all in LLCs, but I group them in LLCs except for the large ones. The larger properties, those are in their own LLC. But I have one LLC that has 8 properties, another one that has 9 properties. And that's how we divide them up by groups of properties. But the larger properties, 30 units, 40 units, they're in their own LLC. To answer that one. So, do I have any properties in Newport? I do not have any properties in Newport. I had the opportunity. I do go to auctions in Newport, but the houses in Newport, they sell for a lot of money being Newport. Even though Newport, people think of Newport for the mansions. We also have Newport has also the working class, the blue collar areas in Newport. But again, it's over the bridges for me. It's out of my comfort zone. So if I did buy something there, I would have somebody else manage it for me. But my trash company has customers in Jamestown and Newport. So they go over the bridges and service those customers. So let's see. What else is there? Let's see. You have kids and a wife. Yes, I do have a wife and I have 2 kids. And they do have cameos once in a while on TikTok, but I can squeeze them in. But no, actually, it's funny because my daughter does TikTok. She does dances with her friends and stuff like that. So that's how I did a dance. If you look at my TikTok, the very first TikTok I ever did was one of those dances that they were doing, the trendy dance. That was my first TikTok I ever did a year and a half ago, whatever. And then I said, this is kind of fun. I haven't done any dancing since then. But yeah, so that's how so she's on TikTok. She likes TikTok. My son has no interest in TikTok, whatever, So, let's see. Just finishing up my first flip house. Any horror stories? So, the only horror stories I have with flip houses, so when I buy a flip house, I try to go through the whole thing. And the way I do it is I take away any potential negatives. In other words, somebody that's going to walk in the house. What's the negative? The driveway, the front steps, the front door, the kitchens, the bathrooms, because that's what you see first. That's what people see. The driveway, the front. So I try to take away all the negatives that I can see in a flip house. Then what happens is the real estate agents, I'll have them walk through it, tell me what negatives there are. And they will. Sometimes they're unrealistic. But again, I try to take care of the negatives. The only horror story was, we sold a flip house once and put a new roof on it. And the new people aboard it said the roof was leaking. And we went back and we fixed it. I'm not going to leave anybody hanging. But they had the inspection and it was leaking. And we couldn't figure out why it was leaking. But we ended up going back and fixing it. And what it was I used a subcontractor for the roof. We don't do the roofs ourselves. I use subcontractors. And I think that he used a couple of people that didn't do a good job on it. So that was a one-time. Out of 86 houses, that was the only time that ever happened. For the most part, we've had happy customers, happy people buy. This Friday, I closed on one. I sold one this past Friday, 2 days ago, which was nice. I got a couple right now that we're finishing up, and it goes. I'm gonna be the condo I'm renovating right now. I'm gonna follow that whole process with TikTok, and that house that I bought last week, the illegal grow house. I'm following that whole process on TikTok, so you folks will be able to follow along from the beginning to the end. The beginning product and the end product. What's interesting is the grow house. Is not a bad house. We cleaned it out. All hardwood floors, downstairs, upstairs. There's a master suite upstairs. That house there has a lot more potential than I even thought when I worked with it the first time. So yeah, I really haven't any horror stories. I have bought some really bad houses. One of my first houses I bought, the house actually settled into the ground 14 inches. So we had to go in, we had to jack the house up for a whole new foundation. Did that. That was I like doing that because it's a learning experience for me. So that way, when I hire a carpenter and we start talking about a project, he can't pull the wool over my eyes. I've done it. I've been there, done that. So that's why it's kind of nice doing the challenging projects because I learn. The building that in 10 years ago when the car drove through my building in Smithfield and knocked the building down, we had to rebuild the whole building. I've never built a building from scratch. Well, now I have. So I can talk about that. I have experience in that. Dwayne, who's my foreman, who's been with me for 18 years, he was the foreman on that job. So he and I both went through that together, which was really cool. So that's why people can't pull the wool over his eyes or my eyes, and we have a great relationship. So that's what happens there. Let's see. I appreciate you loving my stories, my stories are factual. I think you can tell I have nothing to hide. What do I have to hide, I'm not running for president. So I have nothing to hide. I try to tell the stories, try to be as accurate as possible. I try to tell both sides of the story. If I was rude or rotten, like I talked about that West Warwick zoning board thing where I put the sign up. Look, I admit when I might be over the top or or whatever, or if I need to apologize. Yeah, it is what it is. That's, nobody will ever find, so you look at these people who have to resign from all their jobs because they had emails and texts and this and that and the other thing. I'm not prejudiced. I obviously, not racist, obviously. I enjoy working with everybody I work with. I will say this: the only people I don't like are lazy bums. So if there's a prejudice or whatever you want to call it toward lazy bums, I'm an equal opportunity judge on the lazy bums. Okay, so I will tell you that. I won't hide it. I like people that are hard workers. Don't have to be rich. Just be a hard worker. Have a good work ethic. Go to work. Show up to work every day. Show that you want to do a good job. It will be, well, if you're working for the right place, it will be recognized. Okay, and if it's not, then you need to find another place to move to, because people need to recognize when people do a good job, and that's important. And even I learned that over the years. Now I do recognize it a lot more than I used to. The people that work hard and do a great job for me, and I have some great employees. So that's something that is something that's worth knowing. Hi from Woonsocket. How you doing? You're only up the road. Woonsocket's a great place to invest in, by the way. A lot of multifamilies in Woonsocket. A lot of people like to live in Woonsocket. Woonsocket has a French heritage. Some of my friends own a lot of properties in Woonsocket. So it's a great area to invest in is Woonsocket. You can get some good deals there. I'm not going to be running for president because, people are not going to like what I have to say. I'll get knocked off of Twitter right away. Look at some of the stuff I say on TikTok. So... what's this one here? Let's see. Have you ever had tenants that take everything? So yeah, so that's interesting. We've had tenants recently had a tenant move out. They disconnected light fixtures, take everything all down. They think they're punishing us. And actually that leads me up to talk about what happens with flip houses. If people lose their house at foreclosure, a lot of times people think, oh, they're going to destroy the inside of the house. They're going to ruin the inside of the house. And yes, if the bank treated them badly, or if they feel like they were wronged by the bank, yeah, they're gonna retaliate on the house, not realizing that it's gonna be somebody like me going in to buy it or an investor. That being said, whenever there's an auction and I buy a house at foreclosure, there's always a story. I was in foreclosure once. My house was up for auction once. I know what it's like. So there's always a backstory. Somebody might have died. Somebody might have been sick. Yeah, there might be somebody that had a gambling problem and other, alcoholism or something, but there's always a story is my point. We don't know what the story is. I have a really nice letter that I write to the people. I put it in their mailbox, introducing myself, letting them know, not kicking you out, just want to talk to you, talk about your story, talk about what your plans are, and let's work together. I have rental properties. I have properties that sometimes I can do an owner finance if it works out. Let's have a conversation. And that has worked every single time. I can't say that about the other people that go to the auctions. I've seen them in action. But I know from my personal experience, Andrew is the same way, because Andrew's the one who deals with it more than I do now, talking to people. And you know what? We've rented to a lot of people. I have some tenants right now in a house that I bought the house at foreclosure 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. And I rented them a house, a single family house. They're still in there. They pay their rent on time every month. Their story, and I know what their story was back in 2010 during the banking crisis. They both lost their jobs, and the banks would not work with people. If you didn't pay your rent, they would not. And I understood that because it happened to me. And that's what happened with them, and that's how they lost their house. So I did buy the house at an auction. I did fix up and sell it. But they are tenants of mine. They are great tenants of mine. And they're one of 5 that have rented from me. And that's my story. That's because I feel bad for these people. I have another person who... her husband died. She had the house, couldn't afford the house. I got it at auction, found out what happened. In her case, her brother passed away and left an inheritance. She had to wait 5 months for the probate, and she ended up buying back the house from me. And I'm glad she got her house. So there are different stories every single time. So I know a lot of people don't care. Hey, it's business. But you know what? For me, I also have to sleep at night. I also have to know that I've done the right thing. And that's important to me, that I'm not taking advantage of people's misfortunes. There's enough money to be made out there where I don't have to do that. So that's how that goes. The past year's housing market obviously blew up. It got out of control. For me, I got lucky. I sold some single family flip houses this year during COVID, so I got lucky there. Haven't been able to buy many, like I said earlier. The multis. So because I haven't been able, that's one of the reasons why I got aggressive in the multi market. By the way, I got I got aggressive in buying multifamilies because I wasn't able to buy single families to flip. So I said, okay, well, I might as well increase my portfolio. And that's what I did. I started buying more and more multis for my portfolio just because of that reason. So my attitude is positive because what are you going to do? You know, of course, that's a matter of what time of day or what's going on. Do I get a negative attitude once in a while? Yes. But I always come back and do something else and move forward, and I have to have a positive attitude. For instance, the people that stole the $12,000. Okay, they stole the $12,000. Does it bother me that they have it? Absolutely. But you know what? I'd rather them get out of my house, let me re-rent it to somebody else, and let them go live their life. I just know what type of people they are, so I have to keep my attitude positive. I have to. I can't be miserable. It's tough sometimes. When sometimes I go to work and there's a lot of problems happening all at the same time, and it's difficult to have a positive attitude then. But for the most part, TikTok's helped me have a positive attitude because I've been able to tell my stories and have people, and by the way, I like when people give me legitimate arguments or suggestions or comments. For instance, this morning I did a TikTok and I made the comment that my lawyer is on retainer, I pay him monthly. Well, somebody wrote back, well, no, that's not a retainer, that's a flat fee. Well, that person's absolutely right. They corrected me, I was wrong. And so I enjoy the dialogue. I enjoy the, being constructive, the constructive criticism. Of course, the ridiculous people, what are you going to do with them? They'll never account to anything, but there are a lot of people in there that I think want to learn, learn whether they're buying a business, starting a business, investing in property. They want to learn. The other ones, they don't want to learn. They don't want to learn. So we know where they're going to end up. So, so I'll tell you where I see the housing market going. During the pandemic, unfortunately, there were a lot of people that couldn't pay their mortgages and haven't been able to pay their mortgages. But there was also a moratorium on that where the banks couldn't foreclose. So I see in the next year or so that the foreclosures are going to start. 2 years down the line, a lot of houses are going to be up for auction. The housing market will start getting flooded with housing. I think that's when the prices will start leveling out and dropping a little bit. That's my opinion. Because I see it right now. It's supply and demand. There's not a lot of supply out there, so obviously people are charging more. It's like anything else. But it's just like happened in 2010, 2012. The housing market, it took 4 or 5 years for all the foreclosures to start. It was 2015 when all the foreclosures were really coming to the market, and the housing started to drop down. If you remember right, it was ridiculous high before that. So I see that happening again. So I think it's still going to be a year and a half, 2 years before there's going to be so many houses on the market. Single families. I'm talking single families. Commercial, residential, multi is a little different story because those are investors. But single family houses, I think it's going to be a while before they come on and it starts to level off. So, when do you plan on retiring? So I'm only 57. So, that's a very good question. Everyone wants to retire young. I like working. I enjoy working. My parents, my mother was a hairdresser. She was a hairdresser until she was like 75. She retired when she was 75. Then she scooped ice cream shop, just a couple of days a week to make a little bit extra money. My father still works now. They're in Florida right now in the winter. They play golf every single day. But when they come back in May, my father helps them lead the ice cream shops. So I learned that from them, being a hard worker. My grandmother worked. My father's mother worked, till she was like 85, 90. And of course, she died at 102. So I don't know, probably in my early 60s, mid 60s, but I don't know if I'll ever retire because the real estate can keep going as long as I have people managing it. So I guess I can retire and still have an income. My kids are younger, they're going to be in college at the time, whatever, or just finishing college, doing whatever they're going to do. I'm encouraging them, my wife is encouraging them to do their own thing. It's easy to, go into the real estate, go into the trash, go into the ice cream, go into, the audiovisual. But I really, really, my wife and I both want them to find their own way, do their own thing. And if they have no interest in my businesses someday, then we'll have to just play that by ear. But I'm really encouraging them to do their own thing. Knowing how tough it's been, Let's see. do I go live often? This is only the second time I ever went live, and I did it on a whim. I was sitting in the other room, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go live. I was aggravated with the Patriots. I said, let me go in and go live on TikTok. It's Sunday night. Maybe there's a few people out there that wants to see what's going on, you know what I'm saying, and talk and get interested in me and whatever, and like and follow me, which I think that's the only time I've ever asked for that. Yeah, we have to wait for the prices to drop. So I don't think I could be in a movie because I don't think I have a movie face. Maybe, I don't know. So I'd love to be in a movie, but I don't think I have the movie face. Does the real estate business stress you out? So the real estate business really used to stress me out dealing with bad tenants. I am so lucky right now because Tim and Andrew deal with the bad tenants. I tell the stories about the bad tenants, and some of the stories I was about dealing with bad tenants. I am so lucky right now because Tim and Andrew deal with the bad tenants. I tell the stories about the bad tenants, and some of the stories I was involved with up until a couple of years ago. This one here that we're in court now, still the 12,000. I'm involved with that, but no, I can't say it stresses me out anymore. The real estate business, because my guys do a great job managing the business. There was a time when I got stressed out is when, again, I don't take any money out of the business. It goes back in the business. So after, so what happened was in Rhode Island, they had the Station nightclub fire years ago with 100 people died in the fire in West Warwick. And then Rhode Island obviously rewrote all the fire codes. So in all the multi-unit buildings, we had to install fire alarm systems, to the tune of $25,000-$30,000 in each building. At that time, I think I had 6. So that was a huge undertaking. Didn't mind spending the money. I welcomed the fire codes. I had a nightclub at the time, so I really felt close to what happened. One of my employees was actually in the fire. Lucky he got out with minor injuries. We had to upgrade the fire alarm at our nightclub. So that was stressful just because they gave us a time limit to get everything done and get caught up. But now, as far as owning real estate, it's actually less stressful because every one of my buildings has a nice working fire alarm system in it. Every one of my buildings, I put video surveillance systems in it. So I can sleep at night knowing that it's as safe as I could have it be. Because I used to, lay awake at night. You watch the news in the morning, it says fire. Well, the first thing you think is, I hope it's not one of my properties. So that's why it's not stressful for me anymore. I try to keep them as safe as possible. You do what you can do, the best you can do. And that's why I just bought this property a month ago in West Warwick. Well, the property was a 4-unit house. But at the time when they were forcing everybody to put alarms in, the owner didn't want to put the alarm in. Maybe it was financial, couldn't afford it. I don't know. They didn't. So what they did was they actually locked up one of the apartments, sealed it up, turned it into a 3-unit house so they didn't have to put a fire alarm in it. So I just bought the house a month ago. The day I closed on it, I called the building inspector and the fire marshal. I invited them over. They came over, did a walkthrough with me. I showed them. In fact, the fire marshal was familiar with the property. Showed them where they locked it up. I would like to put an alarm system in and make it back into a 4-unit. So I did all the paperwork, filed the paperwork. I draw up all my own fire alarm systems now. I learned how to do it, so I do that myself and I submit the plans. Once they're approved, you have to have a licensed electrician obviously install it. Back then, I didn't have a licensed electrician. Now I have one on my staff. So I do the plans, we get the approval, he installs the fire alarm. So it's nice and smooth now. But I turned it back into a 4-unit with a fire alarm. I much rather have a 4-unit with a fire alarm than a 3-unit that doesn't have a fire alarm. It's safer. And it's about getting people out safely and, of course, less damage to the property. So that's why the insurance is cheaper on a property, that you have all the alarms and the safety mechanism, because they know, chances of a total loss is not going to happen. So the insurance companies give you some sort of a discount, even though they're all thieves, So what kind of jobs are you offering? So, we have openings for contractors, construction workers, HVAC people, plumbers. We always have those jobs open because we're doing so much. We keep expanding in the office. We have right now an opening for a property manager who can help deal with the tenants. Leasing the apartments, showing the apartments, taking the tenants' calls, supervising maintenance requests to make sure they get done. So those openings are always there too. I got 2 great property managers now. We definitely need a 3rd one now, and we're going to be, I know, hiring a 4th one very soon, just because the way the businesses are growing. So that's going to be happening. The supply shortage really affected the business. So especially, last spring, buying supplies for the properties, the expenses went up. So, as you know, lumber tripled, quadrupled in price. Everything did. So that was a huge problem. The only time the supply chain actually affected me, believe it or not, was a year ago when I built my back deck on my house. I ordered the deck boards, and it took 6 months for them to come. That's it. Believe it or not, everything else. Of course, if you want to pay extra and pay a premium, then you could get the stuff. But the supply chain shortage has not really affected us that much. Appliances, depending on what kind of appliances you buy, has been a huge problem. For me, it doesn't matter. I'll put whatever. As long as it's stainless steel, I'll put whatever appliance in. It's a good appliance. I'll put it in there. But I remember last year you couldn't get Whirlpool for 6 months. I don't know why, but you couldn't get Whirlpool for 6 months. So I didn't buy Whirlpool. So there were certain things that you couldn't get, and I would just go with something else. So it didn't really affect me that way, except for the cost. Everything was so much more. For the rentals, I do prefer multi-units than singles. You can't really make a lot of money in a single. So the only way that I made money in a single-family house is 3 years ago when the auctions were going strong and I was getting houses at a really good price. I kept buying the houses. I was buying more houses than we could work on. So what I would do is I would buy the house, I would rent the house, the income would pay my mortgage because I use investors, so I would pay the investor back until I was ready to get to the house. So that's why the single families worked out well for me, because I bought a bunch of them, I just rented them out. Then when it was time to work on them, we were able to get to them. You can't make money owning a single family house as a rental. I mean, unless it's paid for, but still, you can't make any money in a single family house. Even a duplex is very difficult as a rental. If you live in one side, you rent one side, obviously you're making money, but as a rental, you're not making a lot of money. So for me, it's 3 units and above is where you start making the money. From a maintenance point of view, a 10 unit is better, because if you send a maintenance guy over there, he can work on 1 or 2 units in a 10 unit rather than driving all the way over to work on a single unit or 2 unit or 3 unit. So having a maintenance crew, the bigger the property, the more efficient it is as far as us managing it. And of course, there's more profit in a bigger property, just because of the size of the property, the amounts of rents coming in, and the expenses. So, let's see, what else is there? Cap rates for me have been very difficult. I know they advertise cap rates, cap rate. The problem with that is that I just do the numbers, because when I buy a piece and this is actually very good, I'm glad you brought that up. So when I look at a piece of property online, you go on LoopNet, go on the MLS, real estate agents very often will put the potential of what the property will make after you invest $200,000, after you fix it up, after you raise everyone's rates, after you lose all the tenants and put new tenants there. So I don't like that. I buy the property, or I make an offer on the property based on what the property is worth right now, with the income right now. I looked at a property this morning. All the rents are very low in the property now. The tenants have all been there. One tenant's been there 17 years. One tenant's been there 18 years, 20 years. They're all long-term tenants. They're paying, well, for instance, the market rent should be around $1,200, $1,300. They're paying $800 with their utilities included. It's very difficult now to buy that property, because I know for me to buy that property, A, I want to make some money. B, I'm gonna have to raise the rents, but I have to justify raising the rents. I have to fix up the property. But the property is actually in pretty good shape. So I have to find reasons to raise the rent. Whether I give them free internet. Well, if you give them free internet, then you can raise the rent maybe $30 a month, something like that. So I look at how much is the property going to make at the end of the month after my mortgage, taxes, insurance, heat, electricity, especially in that case where everything's included. It doesn't matter what the cap rate is, and it doesn't matter what the potential is for that building. It's what is it going to do for me now, buying it now, because it's going to take a while to transition 6 tenants to raising their rent, or transition them out so I can renovate the apartments to justify charging $1,200 for an apartment if I choose to go that way. Typically when I buy a building, I leave the rents the same, whatever they are, for a while, because I want to get to know the tenants to see if they're going to be a good tenant, if they're going to be a pain in the neck, if they're nags, if they're quiet, sometimes it's worth keeping the rents low if they're good, quiet, long-term tenants, and I'm still making a little bit of profit. That's all I care about. Okay, it's not about greed. It's about making a little bit of profit, pay the bills a little profit, take a little bit of money out to reinvest somewhere else, and that's really the most important thing for me. So that's why I don't look at the cap rates. The cap rate is a return on your investment. Well, for me, I want to know that when I go in there, I'm making a little bit of money every month that I can reinvest somewhere else. So a lot of investors do buy based on the potential. Oh, what can I do with this down the line? I don't want to do that. What if I can't get to it for whatever reason? So I never want to take that risk. That's a risk for me. Saying, okay, I'm going to buy it because I might make $10,000 a month instead of $6,000 a month. I won't do that. I can't do that. So I don't do that. Some people do, and that's fine, and they might do well with it. So let's see. Section 8. I have no problem with Section 8. Section 8 tenants, first of all, from a business point of view, they were pandemic proof. What I mean by that is the money came from the city. Every month, at the beginning of the month, we get paid for those tenants automatically into my bank account. That's one positive with Section 8. The other positive, they're not going to go anywhere. If they're happy, you've got a long-term tenant for a long time. But also, Section 8, they have to go through the process, the vetting process. They have to fill out an application with us. If they don't fit our criteria, we don't have to rent to them. So that's why I have no problem renting to Section 8 or housing tenants, however you want to refer to them. The problem that I have with Section 8 and housing tenants is this. They are getting money from the federal government to live in my building. And I cannot stand it. If they have a boyfriend move in, a girlfriend move in, another family move in, they have no right doing that. The money, the voucher, is for them to live in the apartment and to cover their expenses only, not for them to sublet it to somebody else in the apartment. And so we're very strict about that. Some of the local city housing departments are not strict about it, but it's federal law. So we've had to force the issue with them because sometimes they're a little easygoing about, oh, so what, they let them move in. No, not so what. They're using my water, my electricity, my gas, my wear and tear of my building. They're parking in my parking lot. They're fighting and arguing and bothering the other tenants. So I've actually had to force local housing agents, they want, let's all live kumbaya. That's what they think. But it's not living kumbaya. So we've had to educate local housing authorities that, look, if you're not going to do the right thing, we'll go to Rhode Island Housing, we'll go to the federal government, we'll go to HUD, we'll find out who's supervising you to make sure it gets done right. But as far as the tenants go, if they meet our criteria, they apply with us, they pass our process, they go through the background check, I have no problem renting to housing. We have lots of great housing tenants right now, lots of great, and that's up to us. It's up to us to vet them to make sure we have good housing tenants. I have inherited a couple sometimes. Did inherit one I was talking about earlier. They had people move in with her. They were paying her rent to live there. No, I don't think so. That's my tax dollars. But that's few and far between. So we shouldn't have a negative attitude towards Section 8 tenants at all. Like I said, we've had very good ones. It's a matter of us picking and choosing the right ones. That's a landlord's responsibility as far as I'm concerned when it comes to that. So let's see. Any other questions that I didn't get to? I feel bad if I missed somebody. So what made me decide to be so prolific on TikTok? That's a really good question. I don't know. One day I just started putting stuff on TikTok and telling my stories. And, obviously I have lots of stories from all the different years. And it gives me a little bit of an out. It's kind of like a hobby for me. I don't golf. So instead of golfing, I go on TikTok. I don't know. But it's a little bit of a hobby for me. And I've been enjoying it. And I guess I'll do it until I stop enjoying it. And I'll move on to something else. But it's definitely been kind of fun. We didn't have TikTok 20 years ago. Email. Really, when you think about it. So I enjoy it. I never did like Twitter. I've never done Twitter. I don't do Instagram. I know a lot of people do Instagram. I do TikTok, and I got my YouTube channel, and that's me. And Facebook. I do Facebook. I like Facebook. I've done Facebook for years. I enjoy Facebook because I can stay in touch with a lot of my old friends, and so Facebook is kind of cool. But no, TikTok turned out to be really, really fun. And I know people say, oh, it's supposed to be for dancing and singing and stuff like that. And you know what? There are a lot of talented people that do dancing and singing, and I love watching them. I follow a lot of that, them, and I don't know how they show up on my TikTok, but Happy Kelly, she's on there. She dances 24 hours a day, Happy Kelly. I can't believe how much dancing she's doing. And then Derek Ho. For some reason, they're on my TikTok, but I mean, Happy Kelly's always on there. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'm just trying to see if I missed any. Let's see. Like I don't lay in my bed doing my TikTok in my lingerie. I don't do that. Obviously. And this is only my second time I've gone live. So I guess I answered most of the questions, right? You were talking to a friend about getting a Patriot for $10 at Job Lot. That's a good deal. That's a real good deal. If they keep losing, they're going to be a lot less than that, unfortunately. They're trying, though. They are trying. The Patriots are trying. Yep, I think they'll do fine in the future. I mean, they really are trying. They're playing well. I mean, they're playing well. No, I'm not a mobster, so it's funny because people said, "Oh, you were in the nightclub business in Providence. You must be connected to the mob." I own a trash business. I'm connected to the mob. No, not at all, not at all. And of course, and then I also DJ'd at the Foxy Lady years ago. Nope, not at all. I don't think I ever met a mobster. It's interesting when I had the nightclub in Providence. I tell this story. The mayor at the time, his name was Buddy Cianci, Vincent Buddy Cianci. He was a great mayor. Matter of opinion, I thought he was a great mayor. He did a lot for the city of Providence. The city of Providence is the way it is today because of him, in my opinion. Other people might be taking credit for it now, but he was the guy who really, really started it years ago. Anyway, he was the mayor at the time, and my partner, Rich, was friends with the mayor. And when we opened up the club, I had come up with the name Club Hell, the name. And Rich said, we have to get Buddy Cianci, we have to get him to sign off on that. It's in his city. We're going to name a club called Hell. Let's ask him. So we went to his fundraiser, and Rich went up to him and asked him, told him we were going to start a club, and Buddy Cianci said, as long as there's a seat for me, you can name it whatever you want. And I thought that was great, and that's when we came up with the name Hell. And we ran that club, like I said, for 17 years, and nobody ever bothered us. We had a nice place. It was a great place to go to. And then, like I said, now I'm in the trash business. So, yeah, I don't think the mob's in that anymore. I don't know what they're doing now, but obviously they might be legit. Who knows? So, oh, thank you. I have nice eyes. Thank you. I appreciate that. And of course, I'm wearing glasses. I got my ring light just so that way I look better because, I got a lot of wrinkles. I got more wrinkles than I thought I had. It's amazing. Sometimes when I don't use the light, how bad I look. But I don't use makeup, though. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions here that I missed. What's that say? Any kids homeschool? No, the only time they were home was obviously during the pandemic. They were doing the remote learning, but nope, they go to public school. Both my kids go to public school. In Cranston, we have a great public school system. We have a great recreation program. This city is a great city, the city of Cranston. Now, I moved here in 2004. Prior to that, I lived in Warwick. I grew up in Warwick. Warwick's a great city, too. But I really have to say I've enjoyed living in Cranston for a lot of reasons. I talked about it earlier today. Warwick, I don't get along very well with the building inspector. He and I have a history from years ago in different cities. Unfortunately, I buy properties in the cities he works in, so, we have a love-hate relationship. I'd love to get along with him, but he hates me, so that's another story. And then he gets the people that work under him, they hate me too. So that's a whole other story. I'll deal with it. It is what it is, part of business. But Cranston, the building department's welcoming. They work with me. I like investing in Cranston. Houses are easy for me to flip in Cranston because people like the school system in Cranston. So when I buy a house in Cranston, I know it's going to sell. I got one right down the street from my house we're working on right now that's going to be ready in a few weeks. And I know as soon as I put it on the market, it's going to sell because the Cranston school system's great. So yeah, I don't homeschool my kids. They did the remote learning, distance learning, when the pandemic hit. Funny story, I guess you can call it a funny story. So the very, very first day that they closed the schools came as a surprise. I think everybody knows that. All of a sudden they announced, okay, kids are going, COVID, no one's going to school, stay home. So my wife had to work that day and I had to work that day. So my
my son was 12, my son was 14, my daughter was 12 at the time, so they stayed home. So I went to the office. I'm about 5 minutes away. My wife's at her office. So I get a phone call from my alarm company for my house. I have a monitored fire alarm system in the house. So I get a phone call, the fire alarm's going off at the house. At the same time, my phone's ringing, it's my daughter's cell phone. So she's crying, Daddy, I was making Benjamin pancakes and the fire alarm went off, the smoke detectors went off. So then 2 minutes later, she goes, the problem is the fire department's here. She goes, they want to talk to you. So fireman picked up the phone, hi, Mr. Butler, blah, blah. So he said, it's no big deal, just a little smoke. We open up the windows, everything's fine, your daughter's okay. Just want to let you know. Well, she was traumatized. She was traumatized from that. It was her first day. She was making them pancakes for her brother, trying to do the right thing. The fire department was here. It was a big mess. So I came home, calmed them down, and then after that, what we did was we hired a college student to come, because colleges were out too, spend a few hours a day with the kids during the day to help them with their work, help them with the homework, make sure they were not playing video games, that they were doing schoolwork. And it worked out well. And now they're back in school, obviously, and they enjoy it. So let's see. If you were in the mob, I don't think you would be dumb enough to tell us. Well, that's true too. That's a very good point. That's exactly right. If I was in the mob, actually, then I'd start getting nervous. Hold on. No, you're right. No, seriously. I guess you're right. I wouldn't tell you if I was in the mob. So you'll have to just guess. Somebody grew up in Edgewood. So if you grew up in Edgewood, okay, they're lifting my house on Windsor to straighten out the foundation. So in Edgewood is a historic part of Cranston. In fact, it's right down the street from my ice cream shop. In fact, in Edgewood, I'm buying a piece of property in Edgewood on Broad Street, a 39-unit apartment building, which is the TikTok that I'm going to be posting tomorrow, which is right in Edgewood. Historic part of town, beautiful part of town. And that's nice that they're restoring that house because Edgewood's great. I love property in Edgewood. You can't go wrong. It's a nice part of town, historic part of town. A lot of doctors live in Edgewood, lawyers, affluent people live in Edgewood because it's such a nice part of town. And also maybe, old money people that inherited the houses because it's so nice. So, all right, so you used to live in Warwick near Rocky Point Amusement Park. So Rocky Point Park is where I met my wife. I've talked about this before. Rocky Point Park was a small amusement park, 125-acre amusement park in Warwick. So when I was in high school, that was the place to work. Everybody got a job working at Rocky Point in the concession stands, running the rides, running the games. That was the place to work. I never did that. When I started my audiovisual business and I made a contact with somebody who knew me and referred me to the receiver. So Rocky Point went into foreclosure in 1995. There was a receivership in 1995. So they had a trustee watching over the property, and I was hired in 1995 to manage the entertainment budget and the advertising budget for the park while they were in bankruptcy that year. So I was already out of school. Like I said, I was running my business. So I started working there at Rocky Point Amusement Park. It was right on the water. Beautiful, beautiful place. So I worked directly with the owners at the time. They were great guys. They treated me really well. I felt bad the position they were in. I just met them because I went in there to manage their budget for them, the advertising and entertainment budget for the year. And I hired the bands, hired the DJs, and I also met with all the TV stations, radio stations, did all the advertising. So at the time, and that's how I met my wife. So my wife, Carissa, was working there because she was in college. So she got a summer job there working the gate, taking tickets at the gate. So I used to go by and talk to her here and there, and we met because she used to have to call me on the phone and tell me there was somebody here to see me. But we met. She was taking tickets at a concert one night there that I had booked. So I went over there and I was talking to her and getting friendly with her. And I actually asked her on a date, and she said no. The first time she did, she said no. And so I kept talking to her a couple weeks after that. And then the next time she said, yeah, okay. So we went on a date. And she was at college at Duquesne University at the time. So she went off to Duquesne in September, and I stayed there and ran my business. But anyway, that's how I met my wife. So she went to Duquesne for undergrad. She went to Villanova for graduate school, for a lawyer, law degree. And then we got married a couple of years after that. So we dated for 9 years. I tried to drag it out longer, but she gave me an ultimatum, so I had no choice at that point. But yeah, we dated for 9 years before we got married. And got married in 2004, actually, because we met in 1995.
clam cakes and chowder. So yeah, so Rocky Point was famous for the shore dinner hall. They had this huge, gigantic hall right along the water. Everyone would go there, all you can eat chowder and clam cakes. Fabulous chowder and clam cakes. That's what they were famous for. Now, here's what people don't know the story on that. And they did do a documentary on Rocky Point. It was on the, they did a movie documentary, which I kind of disagree with how it was portrayed, but that's my opinion. Rocky Point was in receivership. They went, the owners needed money. They borrowed money from a private lender, a hard money guy is what you call him, okay? Private lender, loan shark, whatever you want to call him. And that year that I was there managing the budget, they actually were able to come out of bankruptcy. But to borrow that money, they had to sign over 51% ownership of the park to this other person. So at the end of the summer, when they came out of bankruptcy, the other person said, I don't want to own an amusement park. So immediately he auctioned off all the rides, took all the money, and basically put the park into foreclosure again. Small Business Administration had the loan on the property, they foreclosed on the property, and that was the demise of the whole place, which was really unfortunate because it could have come out of receivership and been as successful as it was before. The problem with amusement parks, those small family-run amusement parks, is that you have a wet summer, a rainy summer. That's it. You're done. It's kind of like my ice cream shops. You have a rainy summer. It really hurts the numbers. So that's what happened there. So the good thing that came out of it was I met my wife there at Rocky Point. It was a great place to work. I enjoyed it. The owners were great guys. I met a lot of people there, and I enjoyed it. So that's funny that this person said they lived, they grew up right near Rocky Point. So, I did. I went to Warwick Vets High School, graduated in 1982. So, oh yeah, see, you're interested. So, well, thank you. So yeah, so. Again, my wife's a little bit more shy than I am. She doesn't like to be on TikTok unless I sneak a cameo of her. My daughter doesn't mind being on there because she's on TikTok anyway. Doesn't do a lot of stuff. She does it with her friends, the typical what 12-year-old girls do. And my son has no interest in TikTok at all, except, now this is kind of funny, his friends follow me on TikTok, and he was impressed with that. So that was kind of funny. The other thing that happens once in a while, which I'm actually shocked by this. So yeah, there's 175,000 followers. Well, we know it's worldwide, right? So that's not a lot of people all over the world. But the funny thing is when I am noticed once in a while, I went to a wake about a month ago. A gentleman came up to me at the wake and said, oh, you the guy Jeff on TikTok. So I thought that was interesting. Then last week when we were going to Chicago and I gave my license to the TSA agent and he put it in the machine and he said, oh, you're TikTok famous. And he said it really loud to everybody in line at security at the airport. So I thought that was nice because you don't know who follows you. Another story was Friday night. I was coming out of a restaurant and this husband and wife introduced themselves, said they follow me on TikTok. And then this morning at that house I was looking at, they had an open house and somebody there recognized me and said they enjoyed watching my TikToks. He was just starting out in the business. Really nice guy, Peterson. I'll give him a shout out because he looks like a nice guy. He looks like he's going to be a good landlord. And so that was kind of cool. So that's interesting too, how all of a sudden some people notice you, and I find that fascinating because you just don't know who's watching you where, and by the way, I love making clam cakes and chowder. If you look back at some of my TikToks way back in the summer, I actually have a fry later in my backyard, and I love making clam cakes, homemade clam cakes, the New England clam cakes. I love making them. We like having parties. My mother likes coming to parties, but my wife, Carissa, she loves entertaining. We love having people over to the house. She likes entertaining, so we like having people come over to the house. So during the summer, we have lots of parties. We have our big employee party every summer. We have our summer birthday party for my son, and we love having get-togethers. So I have a fryer later, an outdoor kitchen. I really enjoy cooking in. I only make a few things. I only make doughboys, French fries, and clam cakes. So I just do fried chicken wings and stuff like that and mozzarella sticks in the fryer later. But it's a small fryer. It's not a big one, So my birthday's in June. June 25th is my birthday. Let's see, what else is there? That's it. Let's see. So I guess let's see. San Antonio. So San Antonio. I love San Antonio. So let me tell you about San Antonio. So being in the audiovisual business, I've had the opportunity to travel all over the United States to different places.
And when I go to the place without my family, I'm like, I'm going to bring them back here. So before the pandemic, in fact, I have tons of video, tons of things I could do on TikTok. That's why we went to Chicago last week. We go on 3-day, 4-day vacations. So I was in San Antonio at the convention center with my crew a few years ago, and I said, "This is the Riverwalk. What a beautiful area San Antonio is." So we're gonna go there. So we did. The February, I guess it was 2019, before pandemic. I took my family to San Antonio. We went to the Riverwalk. Went to the Alamo. We went to the did all the touristy stuff. We went to a real rodeo, which was really, really cool. At the same time, when we were there, they had a parade going on that day. I forget what the parade was for, but there was a parade. We watched the parade in San Antonio. It was a big historic parade. It was some sort of patriotic parade that was going on. So love San Antonio. In fact, we're going to be in San Antonio a couple weeks doing a conference, my audiovisual business. But yeah, that's how I pick places to go to. I go there, and if I really like it, I'm going to say I said, "Come on, let's go." I went to Savannah, Georgia a couple years ago. That's on our bucket list to go to. We went to Chicago this week. So that's how I pick the places I go to with my family. If I go on the audiovisual business and I say, "You know what, this is a nice place to visit." Well, San Antonio, we had the best time in San Antonio. We really did. So I'm really happy that somebody reached out from San Antonio. Let's see. My flight that got canceled, so last week. So, of course, I'm in bed at the hotel, the Embassy Suites in Chicago. I get texts on my phone that our flights were canceled for Southwest. All 4 flights, which were going to be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a 2.5-hour flight, nonstop from Midway Airport to TF Green Airport right here in Warwick. So, our flights were canceled. So, I was up anyway. I'm up at 3 in the morning. I have a crazy sleep schedule. So I immediately go on my phone and I start looking for other flights. I see Southwest is completely out of business. I start looking at other flights, United, Delta, different airlines. Nothing available. I then call Southwest. Southwest, I'm one of those preferred A+ members, whatever is on Southwest. So I call them up, they answer right away. So they're like, "Well, we can get you out on Wednesday night." On Wednesday night, my kids have school tomorrow. I can't get out Wednesday. I was sitting here for 2 days. So it would have been fine, I guess, do some more sightseeing, but it's expensive and the kids have school. So my wife woke up, so I said to her, I told her what happened. I said, "Look," I said, "we can rent a car so and drive back." I mean, my guys drive from Chicago all the time. It's a 15-hour ride. I knew that just from the audiovisual business. So that's what we did. We rented a car. The only rental place that was open was at O'Hare Airport, dollar rental car. We rented a car, left at 6 in the morning, and we drove straight through from Chicago back to Rhode Island. We were back at about 10:30 that night. We stopped for food, for gas, and that's what happened. And then on Thursday, I got an email from Southwest. They refunded all my points because I had used points to pay for that trip. They refunded all my points, and also they gave us 4 vouchers, $250 each for future flights. So you know what? That was nice of them. It cost us $450 to get home. The rental car was $200. The gas was like $150, and then tolls was another $50. So it cost us about, and then food. So about $450, and so that's what happened with that flight that got canceled. Now my wife will say she's a jinx because every time she's on a flight with me, there is some sort of a problem. I'll never forget. We were coming home from our honeymoon from Florida. We took a cruise, so we're flying back from Orlando, and it was in February. It was in February, March. It was March. So we're coming back, and there was some bad weather at TF Green Airport. The plane's making its approach. We feel it going down. "Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, the airport's been closed due to bad weather. We have to reroute." So they rerouted us back to Baltimore. So we had to sleep the night in the Baltimore airport, come home the next day. So that happened. Then we were going to New Orleans a couple of years ago. Similar situation happened. We're coming back. Closed the airport. They landed in Bradley Airport in Connecticut, which is only an hour and a half from here. They made us stay on the plane. This was before they passed that new rule where you could only be on the plane for 2 or 3 hours at a time. We were on the plane for 5 hours. Keep in mind, I have severe claustrophobia. I had to keep popping my pills, okay, because I have severe claustrophobia. I told the claustrophobia story before, how I got it. And I do a lot of traveling, so it's very difficult for me, and I have to deal with it. And I have dealt with it. So I'm kind of over it on a plane now, I guess you'd say, but I still take the medication with me. I haven't had to take it in a couple of years. But anyway, they rerouted us to Bradley Airport, an hour and a half away. We had to sit on the plane. I was asking, "Can we please get off? I'll rent the car. I'll drive." Because that's when I was like losing my mind. But anyway, So I've had some mishaps. Again, the more you travel, I guess the more mishaps you have. I was coming home from a show that we did in Austin, Texas, and we stopped at Midway Airport. And it was in the winter. Same thing, bad weather. They grounded all the planes. I had to sleep in the airport overnight that night. So that kind of stunk. But I remember that laying down in the terminal, using my backpack as a pillow. So that's all the traveling stories way back when, you know. You had a romantic date at the Riverwalk in San Antonio. Well, I got to tell you something. I could see that because that's a romantic place, the Riverwalk in San Antonio. That's probably the nicest Riverwalk that I've seen. I mean, they had a Riverwalk in Chicago last week. I know they just made or built a few years ago, but the San Antonio's nice with all the restaurants right there and the cafes. It's beautiful. It really is. It's a beautiful place. Yeah, I recommend anybody going to San Antonio. It really is a nice place to visit. Best state you have visited? Well, you know, it's funny because selfishly, I haven't visited Rhode Island, but I really do like Rhode Island. We're situated between Boston and New York. I love it. I like Texas. Texas is probably Texas and Arizona are my favorite places to visit because of the diversity. There's a lot going on. I'm a little biased towards Texas because Texas has been very good to my audiovisual business. There are so many conferences there, so many meetings there. 60% of my business in 2018, 2019 was in Texas. You know, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin Convention Center. So I'm a little bit spoiled because Texas has been very good to my business. But I gotta tell you something, we enjoy going everywhere. You know, my wife and I were talking about this the other day. There are so many places in the United States that we still have not visited. You know, that could be beautiful. So that's why I don't want to leave anybody out because there's still a lot of places that we have not visited that I'd love to visit. You know, I've been to California a bunch of times on business because it's always the same place you go to, which is beautiful. San Francisco, Long Beach, San Diego. We had a great family trip to San Diego and Los Angeles a couple of years ago. Great trip. And then we had a great trip a couple of years ago to Arizona, to Phoenix, Sedona, Jerome. Jerome, Arizona. It's up on a mountain. I don't know if anybody is familiar with it. It's actually a hill, and you drive to the top of this hill. It's a little scary. And there's a little town on top of Jerome is on top of this mountain. And we went to this restaurant called the Haunted Hamburger. It was great. It was fun. Sedona, we took the Jeep rides. There's so many things to do just in the United States without going to Europe. And of course, we want to go to Europe. Last weekend, we were supposed to go to Iceland. So I had never been to Iceland. I always wanted to go to Iceland. That was our trip plan for Iceland. The problem was with this whole passport delay thing, my kids' passports didn't show up on time. That's why we switched from Iceland to Chicago, and we'll go to Iceland another time. So I do like traveling. I like taking short vacations. I don't like going away for a long period of time. I don't know, I'm kind of a homebody, but I do like traveling. 4 days, I know I'm coming home in 4 or 5 days. That's a wonderful thing. So that's the story with that. Have I ever banged any of my renters? No. Here's the story with that. Funny story. So I used to have a rental property manager, Mike, who used to be my property manager. Never banged anybody, but we had one tenant that never paid her rent on time and every month offered. Probably would be a big mistake doing that. Have we had a lot of renters that were bang worthy? Absolutely. But no, that, you know, obviously we frown upon that. We frown upon fraternization with the tenants, with even the employees. But yeah, no, obviously, you know, there's, you know, you do get single tenants or whatever that, you know, I know that some of my property managers, maintenance people would flirt with, but nope, never done that. And like I said, we did have that one that always offered, and we had another one that was running a brothel out of her apartment. We had to solve that problem too. So good question though, good question. So, oh, you got married in Sedona 34 years ago. Yeah, Sedona is beautiful. So when we first got married, our first year anniversary, my father-in-law gave us a trip to Sedona as a gift. So my wife and I went to Sedona. Great time. Really enjoyed it. And we also went to Scottsdale. So every time I go away, I like a casino. I like to play blackjack. So I always try to find a place that has a casino nearby. So that's the other thing too. If somebody asks me what states I like, anybody that has a casino, then you know, not that I'm a big gambler. But I love playing blackjack. It's just that's one of my besides TikTok. That's my other hobby. So so we went to Sedona, had a great time, and that's why last year we said to the kids, "We're taking you back to Sedona." Absolutely loved it. We took the Jeep rides up through the mountains. It was nice. Same time we went to the Grand Canyon. I think I showed a TikTok a couple weeks ago when we hiked to the top of the Grand Canyon, and so that was cool. So yeah, no, Arizona is just it's beautiful. It's beautiful, you know. So that's cool. I'm glad you got hi from New York. How you doing? So and of course I'm in Rhode Island. Just bought a motorhome, planning to go before the tenants pay their rent. So yeah, that always helps when they pay their rent. It helps pay the bills. When money's tight for me, once in a while, cash flow will be a little tight. That's when the non-paying tenants, they get to me because I'm like, oh, if they had paid their rent, I'd have money. So that's how it's always been with me. So it's funny. I would say I drove a motorhome once back when I was like 23. If some friends and I, we rented a motorhome, drove down to New Orleans with the motorhome, spent some time in New Orleans, and then went over to Orlando, Florida. It's the only time I've ever been in a motorhome. But it sounds like fun. It sounds like real fun. Let's see. Has your wife been on here? So she really hasn't been on there, except for pictures I sneak of her once in a while. She hasn't been on TikTok. She will be. She'll warm up to it, I think, at some point. But it's funny because, like when we were in line with the TSA last week, and the TSA said, "Oh, you're TikTok famous." She cringes because, for me, she knows that, she can't stand it, and all of a sudden, somebody says that. Or I'll tell you one. Here's a funny one. A couple weeks ago, it was a Saturday. We were watching TV in the other room. We're watching TV. She got a text. She goes, "Oh my God!" So what? She goes, "My boss just said he found you on TikTok, and him and his wife are watching all your TikToks now." So again, she can't get away from it, which is kind of funny. But she's a good sport about it. She knows I'm enjoying doing it, and she's a real good sport about it. She really is. But of course, I'm careful what I say, so that way I don't embarrass her. For a reason, really, I don't have to embarrass her. They're all embarrassed of me, if anything. Hi from South Kingston. Love your TikTok. So South Kingston, I own a house in Narragansett. I was talking about it earlier. Down in, I rent to some URI students. In fact, so URI, my audiovisual company has had the contract for the URI graduation. We've been doing it for about 18 years now. We set the stage for the URI graduation, and we've done that for 18 years, and we enjoy it. We don't do a lot of stuff in Rhode Island, but we do that. We do a lot of graduation, high school graduations, the sound and the video and the projections of the high school graduations. But hello to South Kingston. So Narragansett is in South Kingston. University of Rhode Island is in South Kingston, so people know. So this is what's interesting. So people always ask me, "Do you have any apartments available?" So now that I don't really handle the rentals, Jasmine and Andrew and Tim are the ones who handle the rentals. So when people say to me, "Do you have an apartment available?" I usually text them, or I'll just say, "Call the office," which you're more than welcome to do tomorrow morning. Call the office, and they will tell you what's available. I know because we have so many apartments, there's always 2 or 3 available because, just naturally people moving out, and then we pay them clean and fix them up and re-rent them. So I would say, yeah, absolutely. If you want to, call Elmwood Realty tomorrow in Warwick, call the office, talk to Jasmine, say, "Hey, Jeff told me on TikTok to call you." She'll laugh. So let's see. I'm off of Jerry Brown Farm Road. Oh, yeah, so the Matunic Oyster Bar. Oh, yeah, great. That's fantastic. So you're right over there. Beautiful. Hi from California. You love my videos. So we took a family trip to California a couple of years ago. So when I travel, I use points. I use airline points from Southwest that I earn. I use Hilton points from American Express Hilton that I earn. So we always travel with points. So we always stay, kind of creature of habit. We stay on the Hilton property because I get Hilton points, and we travel on Southwest because I have Southwest points. Plus, on Southwest, we have the companion passes, so my daughter flies with my wife for free, and my son flies with me for free. So it's very inexpensive for us to fly with these points. So I talk about California because we stayed at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, which is the famous hotel where they have I think they do the Emmy Awards there, and something else they do. There's some other awards, the Writers Guild Awards. So we stayed at that hotel, which we thought would be kind of cool, because it was free. So we stayed there, but to get down a mile down the road took an hour. The traffic was unbelievable. Everything was expensive. A restaurant was expensive. It took an hour to get there. So it really wasn't as enjoyable. It was really cool because we'd never been there. Of course, we went to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. We did all the touristy stuff. We went to the observatory. We took the tours of the Hollywood Hills. Did all the touristy stuff. So it was great to see. It was great to see. Can't say I want to live there though because it's so busy and congested. But then again, if I was a gazillionaire and I lived in a private mansion out there, I probably would think differently. You know, if I was in the TV or movie industry, then yeah, I guess that's where you live. But because I'm not, that's not where I would live. But it was a great place to visit. Wouldn't want to live there type of thing. But we then drove south all the way down to San Diego, spent a few days in San Diego. Wonderful San Diego. I love San Diego. I love Coronado Bay. I love the area. And I remember on the way to San Diego, we stopped at the Seal Beach. I forget the name of the town, forgive me. But it's where you go outside and all the seals laying all over the beach. You can walk up to them and stuff. So that was kind of fun. We did that on the way to San Diego. So I love California. San Francisco, I love San Francisco. I've spent, in fact, that was another trip we took a few years ago to San Francisco. Did same the touristy thing, the Alcatraz thing. We did a tour around the city. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. San Francisco's a beautiful place, to visit. So my brother actually lives right outside San Francisco. My brother and my nephew actually live outside San Francisco. When we were there, I did the old touristy thing. We went to Silicon Valley. I got a picture in front of. So I have a Tesla. So I went to the Tesla factory. Took a picture in front of the Tesla sign. Went to Google. Took a picture in front of the Google sign. Did all the touristy stuff. So which was really fun. So I do like California. So Chicago, we were right downtown Chicago. We stayed at the Embassy Suites right on the Magnificent Mile. We stayed right there. We tried to do a lot of walking. When we were there, they had the marathon going on last Sunday. But we enjoyed ourselves in Chicago. It was a great time. We did the thing. We went to the Navy Pier, went on the big giant Ferris wheel in the Navy Pier. We ate at the Signature Room, which is on the 95th floor of, I forget what building it is, but it's the Signature Room. It's on the 95th floor with a great view. And then we went to the top of the Willis Tower, which used to be the Sears Tower. My wife loves Chicago Fire. So we went to the firehouse where they actually, do the filming of Chicago Fire. Took some pictures in front of that, which was really kind of cool, I have to say. So we did that. We went to Six Flags, which is outside Chicago, because we have season tickets to Six Flags season passes. So we try to go to every time we travel somewhere, we try to go to Six Flags nearby so we can say we visited all of them. So we went to the Six Flags. It was unbelievably busy. It was the busiest Six Flags I've ever been to. We were there. We only got on 3 rides, but they were the 3 coolest rides because they were the wooden roller coasters, which I always tell my kids, if you're going to go on a ride, go on the wooden roller coaster because it's custom built for that amusement park, so you'll never go on it again. So that's what we did. So we went to the Six Flags. We had a great time. We had a really, really good time in Chicago. We did. So even the drive home, at first it was a little bit of a shock that we would drive home, but then we were fine. We enjoyed it. So my wife loves Chicago PD as well. I like Chicago PD. I watch it with her, but Chicago Fire, I think, is her favorite show. I think it's called the all the good-looking hunks. You know what it is. Even Chicago PD, all the good-looking hunks. That's why she likes those shows. Dick Wolf, he knows what he's doing. He puts all the hunks on the shows, and she loves it. She watches all the shows, and it gives me time to come in here and do my TikTok. So, you know what? He's doing me a favor. Hi from Kentucky. How you doing? So I was in Kentucky during the pandemic in June, a year ago June. I needed to buy a tractor for my business, a tractor with a backhoe. So I wanted to buy a Mahindra tractor. They were the ones that was referred to me. Well, up here in New England, Rhode Island, there's not a lot of farms. So there's not a lot of tractor dealers. There's one Mahindra dealer in Rhode Island, one in Connecticut, one in Massachusetts. So they charge top dollar. So a friend of mine who's a district manager at Home Depot said, Jeff, he said, why don't you look down south? There's a tractor dealer in every single corner. He said, all right, I'll do that. So sure enough, I Googled. I found this dealer in Kentucky, and I ended up buying the tractor to Kentucky. So I drove down there with Rick. Rick is one of my audiovisual guys. During the pandemic, we weren't doing much audiovisual, so I had him doing other things for me. He loves driving. So I said, Rick, you want to take a ride with me to Kentucky to pick up the tractor? Sure. He drove the whole way. I was just the passenger. He drove the whole way, bought the tractor. It was a 15-hour ride, and And it was kind of cool too because it was scenic to go down there. Saw Churchill Downs, I think, for the Kentucky Derby. So that and then we drove back with the tractor. So that was my first time and only time I've ever been to Kentucky. But we have a client, an audiovisual client in Kentucky. The Hunter Jumper Association is a horse association, and they're in Kentucky somewhere. And the only reason I know that is because Mark was telling me the other day they have a conference coming up, I believe, in December that we're quoting on doing the audiovisual for that show. So it looks like we may be in Kentucky for that show in December. So I thought that was interesting. So, your ex-wife was in Chicago Med. Oh, that's interesting. So very, very cool. Yeah, no, so I'll tell you, I mean, I grew up watching all the Law and Orders, and obviously now Special Victim News is still on, which I love, and everything's now Chicago shows. You got to give them credit. It's unbelievable. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, no, I watched Chicago Med at the beginning. I really kind of lost interest in it now. Watched at the beginning. I don't watch a ton of TV now. I don't know why. I just don't. And then I'm busy. Maybe because I'm on my phone. I don't know. But Chicago PD is one that I do watch in Chicago Fire. Let's see what else was there. I will have to look up where we were in Kentucky because let me see if I have it because I remember I forget the name of the town. I just know that I made the joke because they all have the accent. You all have the accent in Kentucky, but really I have the accent. So I remember going in there saying to the people, I was with Rick. I said, he thinks I have an accent. What do you guys think? So that was kind of funny. Well, let me see if I have it in here, in my phone, so that way I can say what town I was in. I have a bad memory when it comes to that. No, it's not in my phone. I will have to look it up, and I will let you know. But it was a Mahindra dealer in Kentucky. So was it Tool? Might have been Tool, TUHL. I forget. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. The name of the company will come to me, and then the town will come to me. So if you notice my left eye sometimes does one of these, I might as well tell that story because somebody asked about it a couple of days ago, and I was like, well, how am I going to tell the story? So when I was a baby, I had two lazy eyes. Lazy eyes are, my muscles on my eyes were all loose. So my eyes used to just kind of go wherever they felt like, they floated. Finally, I had an operation when I was like 9 years old. And back then, the technology isn't what it is now. The doctor explained it to me back then, but I remember this. They took the eyes right out of my head, they tighten up the muscles, and they pop them back in again. And that's what they did. But obviously, over the years, this one's loosened up just a little bit. I have to concentrate to keep it straight, but I can also do this, and, it gets lazy. But I try to concentrate, keeping to do this. So that's my lazy eye story, if that's what you want to call it. I'm sure now they have better technology where they don't pop them out of your head and tighten up the muscles and put them back in. Because when they did that, I remember, having my eye patches on for weeks and all that stuff. So, well, we went through Louisville. So that's right. We went through Louisville to get to this place, which was only like another 20 minutes from there, to buy the tractor. I wish I remember where that was. Because now now you got me curious now. You're piquing my curiosity. So let me see if I can remember where I got it from. I'll go right, because, and I'll tell you something, I enjoyed the ride. The other thing is this. So I love, Rick does too, we love Arby's roast beef. There are no Arby's in Rhode Island. I don't know why. Okay, maybe Rhode Island must have pissed them off or something, but it aggravates me there's no Arby's roast beef around. But the Midwest, down south, there's tons of Arby's everywhere. So that's why we really enjoyed that trip. We actually purposely pulled off the exits of the highway, just look for Arby's all the time to get Arby's. But anyway, let me see if I can find this Mahindra dealer, because I got to tell you, they took care of us. Let's see. Oh, Tall Equipment. That's what it was. It was Tall Equipment. It was in Cecilia, Kentucky. Yep, Tall Equipment, Taul. So I wasn't too far off there. It was Tall Equipment in Cecilia, Kentucky. That's where we went to get my tractor. And I'll tell you, they treated me very well. I got a tractor with the trailer. We brought the tractor back. So we use the tractor, just in my construction business. If we have to tie a house into a sewer, we can dig the trench with the tractor. At the time, I was doing some work at my own house. I put in a pool. We would taking care of excavating the backyard. So the tractor's all I needed was the tractor to do that. So we used it for that. But the tractors come in handy for a lot of things. When we buy dumpsters for Butler Waste, we use them to take the dumpsters off the tractor trailer when they come in. So the tractor came in handy. But anyway, so that's the story with that. So let's see. What kind of tractor? So a Mahindra. So I bought a Mahindra tractor. I think it's the model 3500, something like that. I don't drive it. Rick does. I got a couple other guys that drive the tractor. But it was a Mahindra tractor. So it's not a big one. We didn't need anything big. It's just for our own small little projects that we do. You know, we're going to be excavating and cleaning up a yard, that type of thing. So that's what we used the tractor for. I am going back to court tomorrow. So my lawyer is going to court tomorrow to force the issue with the court order. So there is a court order standing right now for those people that give me the money, and they haven't. So the problem is you have to go to the judge and you have to beg the judge, Judge, you got a court order here. Please enforce it. And it's up to the judge whether he enforces it or not. You know, he felt bad. The kid told me, I'm going to mail the check back. Now that the judge has been lied to by him twice, I'm hoping the judge gets pissed off. See, the problem that you have is this. There's a lot of people that prejudge out there and judge out there. And I have a feeling the judge was no different than some of the haters on TikTok where they automatically think I'm some rich, mean landlord out to get the little guy. So the judge did give the kid the benefit of the doubt twice. Now it's been twice. So I don't think he's going to get the benefit of the doubt again. I really don't. I've been to court enough times when a judge flips, they flip. And I have a feeling he's going to flip. So that's the good news about that. But we are going back tomorrow. Thank you. I do need the luck because you never know. You just never know which way the judge is going to go on this. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Somebody said laugh out loud. I don't know what I said. Must have been something funny. Anyway, maybe because of my roast beef story, my Arby's story, you know. What was the name of the property office called? Oh, Elmwood Realty. So the name of my company is Elmwood Realty. It's in Warwick, Rhode Island. You can Google it, Elmwood Realty. Just Google that. You can call them. We're open at 7:30. Somebody answers the phone after 7:30 in the morning. But also our email. If you want to email them too, you can email them tonight and they'll call you back. It's elmwoodrealty@gmail.com. So if you want to email Jasmine, somebody will get back to you. They'll actually get it probably tonight. They're always checking their emails because tenants put in maintenance requests and stuff. But it's elmwoodrealty@gmail.com. Feel free to email and they'll tell you what's available. That's no problem. Pennsylvania, I appreciate you liking my videos. So I like Pennsylvania. I don't really like driving through Pennsylvania, but I like Pennsylvania. I've been, a bunch of places in Pennsylvania. My wife went to Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, so that was a nice 9.5-hour ride every time I went to visit her. That was wonderful. The halfway mark between Rhode Island, I used to make this joke, the halfway mark between Rhode Island and Pittsburgh was Allentown. So I used to know when I used to get to Allentown, Pennsylvania, I was halfway to Pittsburgh. But then she went to Duquesne. She went from Duquesne in Pittsburgh. She then went to Villanova, in outside Philadelphia for law school. So my wife really likes Pennsylvania. Obviously, she's from here. She's from Warwick, Rhode Island. So anyway, I love drinking water. I drink a lot of water. What place have I hated? Oh, that's a good question. What place have I hated? I'll tell you what places I hate. And this is more from doing my audiovisual. A lot of times people will pick really nice resorts to have their audiovisual conference, because that's part of what happens is I'll give you an example, and I didn't, not to jump around, but there are certain organizations that will purposely pick the nicest place to have conference, so their membership will go. So, for instance, one of our clients is I hope I get this right because I'll feel bad. It's the Pet Dermatology Association, but it's not pet, it's something else. But it is. It's the Animal Dermatology Association. So, Pimple Poppers for Pets Association. Well, I think they're based out of Pennsylvania, but they have conferences in the most beautiful places in the world. Lucky for us. So Ian, who works for me, lucky for him. they had a conference in Hawaii a couple of years ago. Funny story now. So we had this big, huge conference in Hawaii. Doing a conference in Hawaii, it's beautiful. It takes a while to get there, and it's very expensive to do a conference in Hawaii. We had to get the equipment there. We had to ship it by truck to the West Coast, then ship it by boat to Hawaii. That's all well and good. So we get everything to Hawaii, and everything's there. And so Ian flies out to Hawaii to do the conference. And in fact, the year after that, they had it in Puerto Rico. So they pick beautiful, Polynesian places to have their conferences. And they have a big membership, and they're a great client. They're a great client. So anyway, so Ian gets to Hawaii. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, my phone rings. I always keep my phone next to my bed, and it's always on for any emergency, and I will never, ever shut it off, ever. My phone rang. I saw it was Ian. It's 3 in the morning. I'm thinking, what the hell? In Hawaii, I think, is what they're 12 hours behind us. So it was 3 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon there. So, hey, Ian, what's going on? He goes, I got some bad news. I said, what, Ian? He goes, I'm on the wrong island. So, what do you mean you're on the wrong island? He goes, yeah, you guys bought the tickets to the wrong island. So I guess what happened was, because there's 5 islands, I guess this conference is on. Yes, we were told the wrong island when we bought the airline tickets. So I'm like, Ian, the only thing you can do now is go to a ticket counter and buy tickets. So we were lucky because I guess Hawaiian Air has flights that go from one island to the other. So he was able to get a flight from that island to the next island where we were supposed to be. But it's funny now, but think about how stressful that could be. We have a conference that's starting, a big conference, $75,000, $80,000 conference. 3,000 people are going to be there. They're waiting for the audiovisual people. And we're on the wrong island. So that was kind of funny. But we solved it. Got another flight. Got them over there. But getting back to the place I hate. I hate when there's a conference and you're landlocked. So it's at some sort of resort. Because, you know what? We're working. We don't have a lot of money. We want to get lunch. I don't want to have a $50 hamburger at the restaurant at the resort. We want to eat at a local restaurant or somewhere inexpensive. So I hate the places where you have to walk a mile, you have to take a taxi or an Uber or whatever it may be to go get something to eat or to get away from the place. So when people pick those places, it's difficult. It didn't happen in Hawaii. I'm just thinking of a place where it might happen. I can't think off the top of my head, but there are places where they'll have it and it's off the beaten path, or it takes a long time to get to where. So sometimes a ranch, they'll have one at a ranch somewhere. So it takes an hour and a half to get there by car or by bus or whatever it is, and you're stuck there. So, but no, I haven't really hated any place. Some places are hot. You go to Orlando in the summer. They have a conference. It's hot, but I don't hate it. It is what it is. No, I can't say any of the guys have ever hated. I'd have to ask my guys, and I can get back to you on that. I'll ask them because they do more traveling than I do, and there might be places they hate, but they like the money. So I think the money is more than what they hate the place for, because they get paid good money. Audiovisual technicians, they make good money. They work hard. They work 16, 18-hour days. They earn every dime they get. That's for sure. Let's see. The thing's not scrolling. I don't know why. I'm scrolling it myself. So that's okay. That's all right. Good luck. Thank you. I have a good landlord. Well, that's nice. You have a good landlord. He worked with you. I like hearing about the landlords. That most landlords will work with people. It's all about communication. Even with me, my staff knows if they're in communication with the tenant. So we have a thing every afternoon. One of my property managers sends me the late tenant list, and what it is it's just the update. That's all I get every day at 4 o'clock. How many tenants are late and how much they owe. My first question is, have you heard from them? If the answer is no, that's a problem. If the answer is yeah, I'm talking to them, we're working it out, they're coming Friday, no problem. But the minute we don't hear from somebody and they're late 3 or 4 days, I say, call them up, send them an inspection of the apartment. There might be a problem in the apartment. They might have moved out and didn't tell us. Or they're ignoring us, and by doing the inspection, you'll force the issue. And that's 9 out of 10 times is what happens. So, but we work with the tenants as long as they communicate with us. Now, I don't have any rentals in Massachusetts right now. I've had the opportunity in Massachusetts, especially Southern Mass, Attleboro, Taunton, North Attleboro, Seekonk. In fact, those are areas that I probably will expand into because it's not far from me at all. It's very convenient to get to. Seaconk's 10 minutes from my office. I really should have something in Seekonk. I spent a lot of time in Seekonk. So yeah, so I see myself going into Massachusetts at some point because of that, but not right now. But anyway, so that's pretty much it. I am doing a TikTok tomorrow on a piece of property that I'm buying locally that has a story behind it because they all have stories behind it. Oh, that's funny. I can give you a surveillance video of my wife. That's what I'll do. I'll take a video of her, and then I'll put it on. That'll be real nice. And then guess what? You gotta remember, she's a divorce attorney, so I have a deal with her. Okay, we have a very very good relationship. I won't screw up, and she won't divorce me. Okay, so that's our deal. But no, it works out very well. That's the other thing too. So I mean, I talked about this before. So our kids, we love our kids, obviously. I know some of our friends, even I have relatives that always need a break from their kids. They need to get a break from the kids. We don't need a break from our kids. That's why if you see our anniversary dinners, I make a joke about being romantic dinners, me and her, and across from the table our kids, because we like to celebrate with them. We like to do things with them. Our kids are great in restaurants. When our kids were young, I mean, I know my parents did this when I was little. If we went to a restaurant, we sit in a restaurant, and the kid, they made a peep, I immediately grabbed them and took them out to the car, even before they spoke. And we sit in that car, and I didn't care if I missed my meal because I knew by sacrificing one or two times, they would become very, very good and obedient and behave in restaurants. And they did. And that's why at a young age, because we go out to dinner a lot, we go out to different restaurants. One of the mistakes we made is we go out to some nice restaurants. Sushi, they love sushi, so they got expensive taste, which is a whole other story. But they learned at an early age. About a year ago, we went out to dinner to one of our favorite restaurants, Greg's in Warwick, and we went to pay the bill, and the waitress came over, and I said, "Can I have the bill?" She goes, "Oh, it's all taken care of." So it's all taken care of. She goes, "The gentleman that was sitting over that table paid for your meal. He was so impressed on how well behaved your kids were, and they said please and thank you for everything. He had to buy your dinner because he was so impressed." I thought that was great. Never expected it. Never planned on it. That was just so nice. And we go to that restaurant all the time, and it's a regular waitress that we have. That was just so nice that person did that. They recognize that. So I recognize that now. I see when other kids say please and thank you, and are taught the right way. And unfortunately, I think it's few and far between now, but I encourage it with my kids, our friends, and so that's the story with that. So our kids are good. They go with us to restaurants. We take them everywhere we go because they enjoy they enjoy. I love my daughter. She loves good meals. She likes dressing up. She likes putting on dresses and going out to nice restaurants. And I'm glad she takes pride in her appearance, which is really cool because a lot of people don't do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? We go to breakfast and people are wearing their pajamas and breakfast. So. But anyway, so. I'm 7 months older than you are. So that's interesting. That's interesting because, I am convinced, especially after that TikTok that I did a few weeks ago, I am convinced that there are just as many older or adult people on TikTok as there are kids. I am convinced of that. Sure, we have different content than they have, but I am convinced there's older people on TikTok. Absolutely. And I'm really enjoying this live tonight. I have 2.2K people. That's 2,200 people on here tonight. That's really cool. I appreciate you all watching me and listening to my boring stories. But yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. And I've been enjoying it. Oh, so that's what I was saying. So I think I'm up to 174,000 followers. I've only had to block 2, and I didn't want to block anybody because I have thick skin. I put up with a lot of stuff. I don't care what people have to say. I really don't. The only people I block is someone who doesn't know me, who starts making false allegations, or really insulting my family. And it's only been 2. So with all the trolls and haters and stuff like out there, I'll put up with a lot of the crap. But there's only 2 people I had to block, and that's because they don't know who I am, they don't know about my family, but they made personal statements, and it doesn't add to anything. It doesn't add to anything. It just shows 175,000 people what jerks they are. So I will tell you, for people that block people, I have 2 people blocked on my whole TikTok account. since I've been on there, and again, that's because they crossed the line. They crossed the line. So who's going to be your friend? No, he going to be my friend. What does that mean? Who's going to be your friend? You love my voice. See, you know what's interesting about that? So I started doing the TikToks. I'm very self-conscious about my voice. Feels high-pitched. People call me Elmer Fudd. I forget what other people call me on here. Again, I don't care. It's fine. It's funny, I think, because I never thought of that, Never thought about that. Yes, yes, you're right. I did have to block that one guy. So there's two guys on here that were just so rude and rotten and mean. You know what? There's no room for mean people anymore. There's no reason to be mean. If you disagree with me on something, fine. I have no problem with that. I welcome a disagreement. I welcome, conversation. I welcome a meeting of the minds. I like constructive criticism. I've made mistakes on TikTok. People correct me. I have no problem with that. I will tell you, earlier today, you know what's funny? Earlier today, I'll give you an example how I don't know who my tenants are. Somebody on TikTok said, I'm one of your tenants. I live in one of your buildings. I really enjoy your TikToks, and you guys really treat me well. So of course, I made a joke saying, well, obviously that's not one of my tenants, right? I made a joke. But I did text Andrew. I said, Andrew, do you know who this person is? She said something nice about me on TikTok. So he responded, yeah, she lives in your new building in West Walworth. So that was kind of cool. So I am going to do a video response to her because that was nice of her to do that and say that. But there has been some people on there that have been former tenants that have said some negative things. I leave them on there. You know what it is? What am I going to do? I'm not going to block everybody. And you know what? Obviously, they left for a reason, whether I evicted them or they hated me or whatever. So they're going to go on TikTok. Yeah, they're going to say negative things about me. But it is what it is. That's why I leave them on there. They want to say something good and say something, oh, I care. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, they're living in a better place now. Oh, yeah. Are you kidding? That's my wife's favorite. Spain. Yeah, oh yeah. So that's funny you should say that because we have a gift card here, and she's been wanting to go to Spain. So for the paella, she loves it, loves it. Now she likes the one in Cranston, which is not far from our house. So obviously Spain is a restaurant, local restaurant. There's two of them. There's one in South Kingston, Narragansett area, and there's one in Cranston. The original one's in Cranston. So we do enjoy the Cranston one. Oh yeah, that's so funny you should say that. I don't know, maybe that's my wife giving me a hint on TikTok that she wants to go to Spain for my hair because she actually asks for that. That's funny. So the answer is I have 245 apartments. 230 of them are rentable right now. 15 of them are being remodeled. I did buy another property, 6 more that we're closing on this week, so it'll be 241. I have a property I'm buying, it's 39 units that I'm doing a TikTok on tomorrow. I already did the TikTok. I'm just going to post it tomorrow. Too much content. I don't want to bore people to death. And so that's another 39 units. So that's what's happening there. So it's interesting because I would like to, and I don't know how to do it. And I'd love to do some sort of a live podcast, I guess it is, or a Zoom thing where I could talk back and forth to people, where people ask about being mentored and stuff, and I can answer questions because I enjoy it. It's fun for me. I enjoy it. I enjoy answering questions. When people want to open up a business, and I did a TikTok earlier today on it, I have a problem with cities and towns who don't help people open up businesses. I learned the hard way, and I really do think there's a place in every city and town. They call them economic development. It's a bunch of shit, okay? You need somebody that you can meet with, and they can say, okay, you want to open up a restaurant? Here's the 20 things you have to do. Here's your list. You work off it. See if it's going to work for you. Oh, you want to open up a beauty salon? Here's the 20 things you have to do for a beauty salon. You want to open up an ice cream shop. You want to open up a car dealership. We have nobody to teach that. How do you learn that? They don't teach it in school. They don't even teach in school how to fill out a job application. So the problem is the only place you can go to is the town. You would think a building inspector or zoning or something like that would help you. But I don't find that. Very few and far between. I did have somebody, a building inspector. Actually, he's in South Kingston now. He used to be in East Greenwich. Wonderful, best building inspector I ever dealt with. I bought my property in East Greenwich. I went and met with him, sat down with him, told him what I wanted to do. Jeff, here's what you need to do. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You have any problems, you let me know. And I got my ice cream shop open. I got my building renovated. He was great to deal with. And I think that every building inspector should be like that. Every mayor and town manager should hire a building inspector with the understanding that is part of their job, is to help people learn the code, learn how to open up a business. And that doesn't happen in every town. Usually it's somebody, you hire somebody who you know rather than what they know. And that's unfortunate because, they're doing their taxpayers a disservice, which is unfortunate. So that's why that's why I get a little frustrated about that, and that's why I don't mind sharing my information with people. So what's interesting about that? I have a lot of knowledge. Yeah, I don't know how to say this, but let's take 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I never knew, I'd be sitting here on TikTok. I never knew that I would own garbage trucks or a garbage company. Just never knew that. Never thought of that in my life. When I was 20 years old, I was a disc jockey. All I knew was, hey, I'm a DJ and I'm making money being a DJ, and hey, this is pretty good. I can make, I do a couple weddings on the weekend. I'm making myself $1,000. That's all I knew. Then, of course, I get 30. I have an audiovisual company. I'm making money doing conferences around the world, around the country. Hey, that's cool. That's what I knew. I never knew when I was 30, I'm going to own real estate. I'm going to own ice cream shops because I didn't have them then. I'm going to own a garbage company. So it's what I knew at the time, which is crazy. So I know somebody says you have a lot of knowledge. Well, it came by doing all these crazy things. But even a year ago, if somebody said, Jeff, you're going to own a bunch of garbage trucks and a garbage company, I mean, what are you talking about? I know, or I own a tractor. What do I need a tractor for 15 years ago, whatever it was? So it's amazing how things have changed. And when I talk to people, or even now, when I go into a building, I know what I'm looking for. I never knew what I was looking for in a building. Dwayne, who's my foreman, is fantastic. He's done a lot for me. We have a great relationship. He's smart. He has my best interest in mind. He has my business best interest in mind. And he and I share a lot of information. In fact, he's the one I took with me to the Nordic Lodge a couple weeks ago, the all-you-can-eat buffet that everybody says won't go to because it's COVID. But they don't serve COVID there. But anyway, that's besides the point. So I took Dwayne with me. Dwayne was a great guy. The reason I talk about Dwayne is we'll hire a carpenter. So we did. We hired a carpenter, and he's working in this house. So Dwayne calls me and goes, Jeff, you're not going to believe this. So what? He goes, he cut out one of the main beams in the house. I said, I went over there. So I saw it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I went there and saw it cut out. And I called Dwayne. I said, Dwayne, you're not going to believe what this guy did. He cut out the main beam. He goes, I know it. I saw it yesterday. I didn't have a chance to tell you. I can't believe it. So I came down again. So I knew from the years of experience now of building, and of course I have my contractor's license. Again, did I know 20 years ago I'm going to get my contractor's license? And now I take, every year when you renew it, you have to take classes. So I take classes, and I try to take a different class every year so I can learn the laws and the codes. One year I took the lead inspection test and class. Last year I took the building inspector class so I can home inspection class so I can inspect homes when we buy them. So I've learned these things. 20 years ago, what do I care about this? I was a disc jockey and I owned a nightclub. I didn't know anything about real estate and fixing houses and this and that. So it all came with experience, and it all came, I would say, after I was 35 years old. Is when all of a sudden I said, I gotta have a real future. I can't just be playing. I don't want to be out every night of the week, DJing on the weekends at night. I want to eventually start a family, eventually live a normal life. And that's how it kind of transitioned. But it is crazy that now I have all these different, I guess what I call it, experiences, knowledge, I guess you could say. But some of my knowledge is limited. Of course, I don't know the terminology for a lot of things. I know what to do. I know how to do it. But I don't know the official terminology, when it comes to, heating systems or faucets or whatever it may be, plumbing. I know, hey, I need that faucet. I need that. So that's the story with that, But yeah, I wish there was a way that there's some sort of a podcast or a two-way thing or a Zoom that I could do. Hey, sunny Florida. So, my parents live down they're in Bonita Springs, right next to Naples. They're there in the winter. My mother-in-law lives in Venice, Florida. My niece lives in Venice, Florida. My father-in-law lives in Pompano Beach, Florida. So I got a lot of ties. My brother Gary lives in Punta Gorda, Florida. So I have a lot of ties to Florida, and we visit Florida once in a while. So I sunny Florida. So I have a lot of ties to Florida. Mentoring could be my next business. Just I enjoy talking. I don't need to turn it into a business. Don't have to make money doing everything. I enjoy. A hobby is when you do something you enjoy that you don't get paid for, and I'm enjoying this. This is kind of therapeutic for me. When I got burnt out in the business and the other guy started taking over, I took some time off. This has been therapeutic. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy sharing information as long as it's accurate. And if it's not, I will let you know. I will find out. I don't want to give misinformation. And of course, when I talk about stuff, it's usually based on Rhode Island law, based on what I've dealt with in Rhode Island. So that's important to know. But so that's pretty much it. But I appreciate everybody coming on tonight. My watch died. I got the Apple Watch. I must have forgot to charge it last night. It died in the middle of the football game today. So, my tail's a woe. I get the people, oh, Jeff, you're always complaining. Well, yeah, I am always complaining, So, I love the one today. I got one on TikTok, where, all you want is your $12,000. Yeah, you're right. I agree. Say wow. Absolutely. Oh God. Anyway, so that's the story with that. But again, on TikTok, if you want, send me some questions on the Q&A on TikTok, and I'll be glad to answer them. I'll answer them with a video response. So what's this one here? I just missed that one. Yeah. So I am going back to court tomorrow. I did tell you that. And I'll let you know the update on that one. That's for sure. That's gonna be a good one. I'm going back to court tomorrow. I did tell you that. And I'll let you know the update on that one. That's for sure. That's gonna be a good one. So it's interesting. You should be a professor in college. I'd rather be. The thing about college, people are obviously trying to find their way. You're still learning. I'd rather, if somebody's going to do a business or start a business, and they come, hey, Jeff, could you help me out? I would love that. That's where I like to teach somebody because, I want to be able to steer them in the right direction so they don't make the financial mistakes. Butler Waste. So I'll give you an example, too. Butler Waste. When I started Butler Waste a year and a half ago, I knew nothing about the trash business, except I paid for getting rid of a lot of trash. It was very costly, $150,000 a year. I knew nothing about the business. It would have been foolish for me to go into that business without any advice, any counsel, anything. I got extremely lucky because I told my wife I want to start the business. Now, she thinks I'm a nut anyway because I always have ideas. I look at everything as an opportunity. I always do. I look at everything as an opportunity, whatever it may be. So, a good example is 10 years ago in Rhode Island, we had these massive floods in April. Massive floods. It was a once in a century floods. Everything was overflowing. The rivers were overflowing. I opened up my ice cream shop is right on the river, the Patuxent River in Cranston. It was closed at the time. I hurried up and I opened it up. I broke records because there were so many sightseers there watching the floods overflowing, the rivers overflowing, the news stations with the channels. So I saw it as an opportunity. So my wife always laughs at me because I don't like missed opportunities. So I want to make sure that I can help people so they have an opportunity to do stuff. So that way, you're not wasting money. So my wife went to work. She said to her boss, Evan, you're not going to believe this. Jeff wants to open up a trash business. He doesn't have enough on his plate. He wants to open a garbage business. So, of course, she gets the answer she doesn't want to hear. Oh, my best friend. He used to run a trash business. He's retired right now. I'll hook him up with him. They can talk. So he gave Chris the number. I called him up, and I hired him as a consultant. He works for my business as a consultant, helped me start the business, told me where to buy trucks, buy cans, how to get customers, how to manage the routes. And he works for the business now. He's a consultant for the business. I gave him a piece of the business. And that's how the trash business got started. And I used somebody who was knowledgeable because I don't know the trash business. And I had no right starting a trash business without knowing anything about it. So it was great that I had a consultant, a knowledgeable consultant, help me get that business going. And that's why it's very important to surround yourself with people that are smart and know business. A lot of the employees that work for me owned their own businesses. Mike, who's one of my managers, he used to own a paving company and he owned a car lot. I had another, Dwayne had his own contracting business. I have an electrician who had his own electrical business. They all know the trade very well. The problem is that if you're a contractor, you're out there doing the work, how do you manage the business end of it? In my case, I have office people, I have accountants, I have bookkeeper, I have, receptionists, so we can manage the business. So I hire these people to come work for me. Now they can focus on their trade. As long as I pay them well enough, they're happy, comfortable. I have a licensed plumber, licensed electrician, licensed HVAC person. So it's nice, and licensed contractors that had their own businesses, but they're comfortable working for me, and I look to them for their expertise. I'll say to them, hey, how do you think we should solve this? How should we do this? Because they know. I don't know. So you have to surround yourself with good people. That's very important, by the way. That's probably the most important thing that I can think of, is surrounding yourself with people that know better and listen to them, So, I don't understand what that one is, so let's see. No, but I don't have anything in Columbus, Ohio. Drove through Columbus last week, though, coming home from Chicago, but I don't own anything in Columbus. We've done conferences in Columbus, but even that, there's not a lot of conferences in Columbus, and I don't know why. Our clients, we have a lot of the same clients that move around, and for some reason, I don't think they've really had much in Columbus. So, but anyway, I guess I'm going to get going now. But again, if you guys have any questions, let's see, what's this one here in case I don't want to miss anybody. I feel better if I miss anybody. My husband said he loves how you think, that you're a natural entrepreneur. Well, sometimes I like I said, I have no problem taking risks. I have failed on things in the past. But the thing is, at least I tried, and that's the problem. I tried. I've done different things too. I mean, advertising. I'll spend thousands of dollars advertising. That didn't work. I got one customer. It was a waste of money. So obviously, I've done that before. But what I do is I try to just run the business, and hopefully we'll make money. The waste company does not make a profit yet. Almost. Just not quite there, but it's been growing. But again, it's only a year old, so I'm impatient. Dave, my consultant, says, Jeff, you're impatient. The company he worked for, it took him 17 years to make a profit. He goes, Jeff, you're growing in leaps and bounds, because I did buy with another company that went out of business. So we are growing, but we are so close. That business is so close to making a profit that, I can taste it. I can't wait, because right now it's tough. I'm putting money into that business, So, anyway. So I live in Rhode Island. Somebody's asking. Thank you very much for the good job. I'm glad you all like my content. I'm going to go, but I am going to be posting another TikTok tomorrow. Actually, I got a few that I'm posting tomorrow, but one is going to be about a big property that I'm buying that's distressed, and it's going to be an interesting one to follow, because that one locally, anybody who's local in Rhode Island will be familiar with the property because it was in the news a couple months ago, and I happen to be buying that one. So you're welcome for the wonderful stories. Like I said, I will try to. Yeah, you shouldn't taste the waste. I don't think I've ever tasted the waste. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that at all. But yeah. So I will always continue to tell the stories. You have questions, I got the Q&A on my TikTok. I like answering the Q&A, and I'll do it with a video. But if there was ever a way I could set up, like I said, a live chat or a live podcast, I would love to do that, or even a Zoom thing. I might look into that, doing a Zoom thing where people would just log into Zoom and we could talk and have conversations. So anyway, well, thank you very much. I'm going to get going now so I can see my family for the rest of the night. I appreciate, this was very nice of everybody to join me tonight and listen to me. I really do appreciate it. I rate myself as a father. I will tell you a 9. Or if you ask my kids, maybe less, but I do believe I'm a good father. I spend a lot of time with my kids. I do a lot for my kids. I don't enable them. I teach them to do a lot on their own. But I do consider myself a good father because I make sure I leave time for them. I spend time with them. I do things with them. And that's important because I joked earlier about the Cats in the Cradle song. I never wanted to have that song where I didn't have time for them, and when they were older, they don't have time for me. So I've always spent time for them, and I always remind them. We go on a road trip and they're bored in the back seat of the car. Like, hey, when you guys are mommy and daddies, you're going to have to do this. You have to spend time. So I do. I give myself a 9. Why am I not a 10 as a father? Because you know what? I might even be an 8, but I do know I'm above average as far as the attention I give to my kids, what I do with my kids. And it's not just giving them things. Of course, they don't follow me on TikTok. My kids don't even realize like with the property, I put all my, they don't realize what they are going to have later on. Let me put it that way. They go to public school, they work, they have chores. My son works at the ice cream shop. When my son got his job at the ice cream shop, I know I was going to get going, but I will tell the story. When my son got his job at the ice cream shop, I could have easily just put him on the schedule to go to work. I didn't do that. I made him apply for the job online, fill out the application. I don't do the hiring. Somebody else in the office does the interviewing and the hiring. And I told either you interview him, you do interview him. Obviously, he was going to get the job. There's no question there. I didn't do it for that. I did it so he could see what everyone else goes through, how everyone else had to apply for the job, and how you have to go for an interview and talk to people and be asked questions. I wanted him to go through that because someday he's not going to be working for me. He's going to be working for somebody else. And he needs to learn that confidence. So when my daughter gets old enough, she'll do the same thing. So things like that. And he got the job at the ice cream shop because he works just like all the other kids at the ice cream shop. He does everything they do. And of course, because he's my son, I'm harder on him, just like my nephews. Andrew and Brian are great workers. They are such a great example. I demand more from them, which probably is not fair. So a lot of places, it's the other way around.
Oh, the kid works for the family. He gets away with murder. He can come and go as he please. He can do this. He can do that.
With me, it's the opposite. I've always been that way. My niece worked for me 10 years ago. Two nieces actually worked for me 10 years ago. They'll tell you that. I'm very difficult as a boss, as a relative. I am with Brian and Andrew. Sometimes I'm not fair. I accept that. I admit it to them, but at the same time, they are such hard workers. They set an example. It is not that it's a family-run business because they set an example. They show up early. They leave late. I will not ask them to do anything I won't do. They won't ask somebody else to do something they won't do. And that's how the business should run. And that's why I think that we're doing pretty well right now because they are such good managers. And I treat them well. So my kids, they're well-rounded. They're down to earth. And I'm going to keep them that way. When my son's 16 years old, he's not going to get a brand new car. I actually get the perfect car for him. Everyone laughs. I have a 2010 Prius that we use as a company car that drive around because it gets great gas mileage. So I joke with everybody in the office, in 2 years, that will be Benjamin's first car. So think about it. He's going to have, in 2 years, it's 2023, he's going to have a 13-year-old car. But you know why? He's getting his license. He's going to be smashing into things, hitting things, whatever, banging things. So you know what? That would be a good car. And for a kid, that's a great car because it gets great gas mileage. So he's not throwing all his money into his gas tank. So that's how I think, So just so you know. So that's the story with that. So
I appreciate, you guys telling me that I'm a good storyteller. Like I told you, you folks probably have lots of great stories that you just don't tell. And if you want, I'll tell you a story for you. Just send it to me in an email. I'll embellish it a little bit and I'll tell a story. And I'll just say, this is so-and-so's story. But my stories are all true. They're all, things that happen to me. And it's funny, things just pop into my mind. And I remember things, hey, I got to tell that on TikTok because that's a true story. And that did happen. That was kind of funny. And I'll tell the story, So that's the story with that, Let's see what else before I go. Subaru Forester is a good car, good on gas. You're absolutely right, and they do have ice. I agree with you. So Josh B, hi, what's up, Jeff? Not much. Do you prefer your rent in cash or check? Believe it or not, people are going to think I'm a nut. Check. Now, I'll tell you why. Because what's happening is I have mortgages, taxes, and insurance. So when people pay their rent in cash, I have to deposit into the bank anyway to pay my bills. So as far as I'm concerned, just pay it in a check. The best thing I like, which we started doing a year ago, which is wonderful, and the tenants like it, is Zelle. They don't have to come to the office. They don't have to write checks. They Zelle it. It's in the account. I love that. So now I can pay my bills. But what happens is when too many people are paying cash, I have to put it in the bank anyway to pay the bills. So I just rather have it in check or Zelle or electronic ACH that way. So yeah, so that's why I prefer it because I have to deposit the cash anyway to pay the bills. So again, all the money from the real estate goes back into the real estate anyway. But that's a really good question though, by the way. Toyota Prius is a great car. Great car. I'll tell you. So Andrew, my property manager, we were going to 10 auctions a day, like I said a couple of years ago. 10 auctions a day, driving all over the place. So he was driving a pickup truck, getting 10 miles to the gallon. And so he said, why don't I get like a Prius or something? So I did. I found this Prius. It was a 2010. It was
$7,000 a time. It was an old lady's car. It only had like 25,000 miles on it, so we bought the car. That's what he's been driving. So then we needed another one. So a few months ago, I bought another one. Same thing in 2010. This one's a blue one, and Tim drives that one. So each property manager drives a Prius. They get great gas mileage. I'm not throwing my money into gas tanks. So now the pickup trucks, they sit, and they will get used in the winter for plowing when you don't mind paying for the gas, because that's what they are. They're plowed trucks. So Prius is a great car, great gas mileage. My friend Dan just bought one. You know, and in fact, Brian, because we have two Priuses at the office, he drove one day, loved it. He bought one. So I'm not a Toyota salesman. It's just, practical, really practical. I've sold to a renter twice. I've had two renters buy houses from me in the past. Yes, so I have sold to So I do have a nice shine on my head today. I was thinking of wearing a hat. So I have various. So I love hats. So I'm a hat person, right? So I have this one. That one there hides my shine. Then I got the black. See, I got the Gorham Brothers. This is the black one. I do like hats. I got the Under Armour. So this is the one I like, the Gilligan hat. So my Under Armour Gilligan hat I wear in the summer. So I am a hat guy. Not in the house, but I am a hat guy. I guess I could put some powder on my head, and that would get rid of the shine. So next time I'll do that. I'll powder my head, so that way the light's not reflected off my head. So that's funny. I think, as you can tell too, I have a good sense of humor, and people tell me whatever they want. I don't care, So let's see what else was there. Loving my shine. See, now I'm So maybe I should get like a big tattoo on my head for the next one, right? That always goes over. That always goes over big. Embrace the shine. So I do. I started going bald, probably in my early 20s, 2021. My father's bald. 2020, this is hereditary. 2021. I have 4 brothers. Every one of my brothers, 3 of them and me are bald. I got one brother, a full head of hair. My brother Jim, full head of hair. It's unbelievable, full head of hair. But the other 4 of us took after my father. And then, of course, I have to joke because one of my brothers, forever, until I talked him out of it, did the flip. I finally had to get rid of him doing the flip. He did the flip for years. The flip never went over good for me. I started shaving my head, young, and I was fine with that, So, and that's George Costanza, right? The short, fat, bald man. But I'm not short. I'm 5'10". But yeah, so that's the story with that. And you always say about being bald. It's cool in the summer. Try having a big head of hair in the summer, wearing some insulation on your head in the summer. So that's why even in the summer, I try to keep it short, as much as I can, to be cool. But anyway, so that's the story with that. I used to have a nickname. So at the club, when I owned my club, Club Hell, my nickname was the Bald Bastard. Joe used to call me the Bald Bastard. In fact, he hasn't called that to me in a while. Tomorrow at work, I'm going to have to ask him how come he hasn't called me the Bald Bastard in a while. But yeah, he used to call me that all the time. Do you raise the rent on your early on-time rent? No. So that's a very good question. So if I have a building that's making a profit and the expenses are staying down, there's no reason for me to raise the rent. If the taxes go up, the expenses go up, then I'll look and see how much it went up for that year. But then if I raise the rent, I try to come up with ways to save them money as well. That's how I started offering the internet. When you have 6 tenants in a building, each paying $60 for internet, that's $360. So if I could put internet in the building, say for $100, right, I can then pass the savings on to them. So if I had to raise the rent, I would give them something, a perk, like the internet and stuff like that. So I try to look at things like that. When do I raise rent? I raise rent if I bought a property and someone's in there and they're underpaying. They were in the property, they were just underpaying. There's just no way they can afford, the property cannot afford to them underpay. That's one reason I will raise rent. The other reason I would raise rent is if somebody has other people move in with them and it's costing us money. So if I rent an apartment to one person or 2 people, all of a sudden they have somebody else move in, they're using more heat, more electricity, more water. I have to raise the rent to cover those costs. Why should I pay for them to move in? So naturally, I would raise the rent to cover those extra costs, the wear and tear. So that's another reason I raise rent. And the last reason I raise rent is if somebody's just a pain in the ass. If somebody thinks that we are there to wipe their butt all the time and they want us as a parent and they're a pain, they call the office and they're nagging, or they treat my staff bad, Well, then you know what? We have to get hazard pay for that because nobody should. Last week, I came in the office. Somebody was yelling and swearing on the phone to Jasmine in my office. I won't tolerate it. Jasmine, hang up the phone. When they want to call back and they want to treat you right, then they can talk to us. I will not tolerate a tenant abusing my staff. Okay, it's not right. Okay, we're offering a service. They're paying for a service. If they need something, they can ask nice. But there's no reason to be mean or abusive. Not going to tolerate it. If that's the case, raise their rent. Now we get hazard pay. Because then I can pay everybody else more for dealing with the crap. So that's the only reason. But I have tenants that haven't raised their rent in 15 years. Whatever. If there's no reason to, why? If the taxes haven't gone up, the expenses haven't gone up, why raise their rent? I'm fine with that. So that's yeah. I don't just do it just for the sake of doing it. There has to be a really good reason. So. Yes, that's true. The hair did fall out of my head, and it did go to my back. You're right. I will agree with that. I will agree with that. See, there's that's a true comment. So, the other thing is that I am a strict landlord. I am by the book. I am strict. I am demanding, as you probably have seen on TikTok. That's because I'm not just dealing with one tenant, I'm dealing with multiple tenants. So we have to have black and white rules. The rules have to be the same for all the people in the properties. I bought a property in Cranston about 4 years ago. It's a 6-unit apartment house. It's a very nice apartment house. I've never shown it on TikTok, but it's a really nice house. I bought it at the auction foreclosure. So when I bought it, unfortunately, the owner had died. So it went back to the bank. So the bank was auctioning it that day. During the year and a half that the bank managed the property, one of the tenants there took it upon himself to pretty much take over the property. He had 3 cars. He had a boat. He had a camper. He occupied the whole basement with all kinds of crap down in the basement. But that wasn't fair to the other tenants because he was occupying some of their space, some of their storage space. So we had to go to him and say, look, you're a tenant just like everybody else. Get your crap out of here. Well, it was a fight. He forced it. No, we're black and white. We have rules. Everybody has their own storage. You're no different than them. You get the same space that they have. Get rid of your boats. Get rid of your cars. We want the property to look nice. Because I have 5 other tenants there that want to live in a nice, comfortable, place. They want to be able to go outside, enjoy the outside, not look at your crap. So that's why I'm so strict. Because it's not about that tenant. It's about the other tenants. When people ask why do we take the toys, we don't take the toys. We have to teach the tenant. I have 3 tenants in that building complaining that you're leaving all your stuff all over the place and you're home all day. You and your wife are home all day, you're not working. And you can't walk outside and pick up after your kids. First of all, what are you letting your 2 and 3-year-old kids play outside by themselves for? Anyway, that's a whole other story. But then you're bringing them in the house and leaving the toys. So people come home from work, they have to stop their car, go move the toys, drive around. They shouldn't have to do that, is my point. That's why when the maintenance guys go there, they take the stuff, we bring it back, put it in the warehouse. If they want it, give us a call. All right, it's here, come and get it. If we inconvenience them a couple times, they'll learn. Unfortunately, that's what we have to do. So I am strict about that. And black and white, strict about that. And I'm not going to deviate from that. If people don't like it, go live somewhere else. But the other tenants like it because they know we treat everybody fair. The other problem I have, talking about that, and this is where I get tenant loyalty. The tenants know I like to keep the properties clean and neat. So, just like me, if I buy a new couch for my house and I want to get rid of the old couch, that's my problem. I have to get rid of the old couch. Somehow, I have to get rid of the old couch, right? Or bed. Sometimes tenants think, oh, that's the landlord's problem. No, it's not. You get a new couch, you get rid of your own couch. So they'll take their couch and just throw it out in the yard like it's nothing. Who does that? Or their bed, they'll just throw the mattress out like it's nothing. No. You get rid of your own stuff. Part of paying rent, your regular normal trash I'll get rid of. But don't get rid of your beds and your couches. So we have a rule that if somebody does that and the other tenants report it, they get a $50 reward. And what we do is we then charge the tenant for getting rid of the couch, and we charge them, we give the $50 reward. And you know what? It helps. One could say they're ratting each other out. I don't think so. I think they're taking pride in where they live. They want the place where they live nice and neat. So that's something that we do. And you know what? It works because it keeps everybody on their toes and they can get rid of their own couch, their own bed, whatever. That's not our responsibility as a landlord. Absolutely not. You know, so yeah. So, the guy with somebody, oh my God, the toys. Well, again, if you follow the story, you will understand the story. Toys, it's about the other tenants. So you didn't follow the story, so I can't help you there. Sorry, I can't help you there. So if you think I'm making a big deal about the toys, well, I guess we agree to disagree. Do you know what I'm saying? But that is what it is. So, so here's what we do with collecting rent. The rent is due on the first of the month. We give everybody a 4-day grace period to pay their rent. We give everybody a 4-day grace period. They after on the 5th day that we then go there, we don't knock on the door. We post a notice on their door that they're late, okay, and that they owe a late fee. Then what we do, if we don't hear from them, the 7th day we call and we set up an inspection because it's been 7 days, it's been a week. Set up an inspection. Typically, we'll hear from them then. On the 16th of the month in Rhode Island, we then give the 5-day demand. They have 5 days to pay their rent, or we're going to start eviction proceedings. On the 21st, they get the eviction notice from our lawyer, and we start the eviction proceedings. That's how we are. We are by the book. I don't deviate. Every month we do it the same way. Tenants, if they're late, they'll call us. They'll work with us. If somebody's getting paid on an odd day, hey, Jeff, I'm not going to have my money till the 5th. I'll be, as long as they call and communicate with us, no problem. It's the ones that don't call, the ones that don't communicate, they're the ones that they have the problem. We shouldn't have to chase people for our rent. So anyway, so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's it. I do worry about the other tenants, keeping the other tenants happy. And by the way, I do want to mention one thing about the toy thing. Here's what kills me about that. We have a policy. Our maintenance guys pick up the toys, bring them back to the warehouse. Do you know, hardly ever people call us up, hey, did you grab my toys? No. The parents don't even care. They don't care. That's what I'm trying to get at. So this person doesn't understand what my point is. Why you care? They don't care. The parents don't care. They're leaving them out there to get crushed and run over. You care more on TikTok attacking me over toys than they care about their own toys. So that's my whole point. So that's the story with that. So, I will do a couple more bad tenant stories coming up. I do have any strategies for raising the rent? The only strategy is if the expenses go up, then you raise the rent. You have to. I mean, that's the only thing. If you don't raise the rent, then obviously it's inequitable. So if your expenses are going up, then you have to raise the rent. Hopefully that's not the case though. So why didn't I have just extended vacation? Well, I don't have an extended vacation because my kids had to go to school, so that's why I don't do an extended vacation. February we do an extended vacation. Obviously April we do the long school vacations. In the summer we might take a long one, but this time of year we do 3-day vacations. In fact, in a couple weeks, President's Day I think is in November. We'll go into Universal Studios for 4 days. Same thing because it's school. They're off from school, so we'll take a vacation then. January we have Martin Luther King Day. We're going to go to New Orleans and visit Chris's brother who lives in New Orleans. So that's how we do our vacations. And that's pretty much it. All right, well, anyway, I guess you don't know what. Did I not answer a question? I guess you don't know. I don't know. I thought I answered all my questions. I feel bad, see? But if you want, just text me. I will tell you, she is funny, though, about the damn toy thing, which I think is funny. And by the way, that happens to be the same tenant that owes me the $12,000, so I don't feel bad. By the way, just so you know, if you want to put 2 and 2 together, that's the same tenant that owes me the $12,000 that doesn't care about the toys. I guess they're going to go out and buy $12,000 worth of toys. So anyway, all right, I have 3 messages, so I don't even know how does that work. Faxed homework, yep, okay. If someone is stealing, you call the police. Yeah, so I do. So company policy is if we catch anybody stealing anything, we call the police. Whether it's somebody stealing from the property, an employee at the ice cream shop, an employee in my audiovisual, real estate, the policy is always call the police. Always file a police report. Always want a record of theft, of stealing. We don't let anybody off the hook on that. Absolutely. So that's the story with that. So I'm glad you caught my live too. Like I said, I didn't really announce it. I just kind of decided the other day, let me go do a live. I haven't done it in a while, and I know a lot of people had a lot of questions. So anyway, Oh, thank you very much, and I'll probably try to do a live again maybe next weekend or something. I don't. It seems Sunday night was a good night to do it, so I appreciate it again, and of course this is the time when I don't know how to do how I get off the live. This happened the last time because I've only done one once before, so that's the only thing. How do you end it? I don't think maybe you're not allowed to end it. I don't know, but anyway, they want to keep you on here forever. But anyway, so I'll talk to everybody again. I have some good TikToks tomorrow that you guys are gonna like. Thank you. Have a good night.